right. Hello and welcome to the Quarantine Theater Company. Tonight we are celebrating my birthday month, all month of March. And most of our readings are with my favorite director, Steven Spielberg, because guess what? He's the best director. Yeah, suck it, Nolan. Anyway, tonight we are doing E.T. Getting applause on Suck It, Nolan. I love it.
Shots fired.
Tonight Jeremy, our very own Jeremy, is gonna be Elliot tonight. Woo! I'm gonna be playing as Mama Mary. We've got Travis as Michael. We have Hunter. Hunter's gonna be E.T. What? I hope he really transforms and his finger starts to glow. That'll be amazing. Jennifer's gonna be the sweet little Gertie for us. Michael is going to be Greg. We've got Rudy as Steve. And George here is going to be our scene description this evening. And as always, we're all going to be multiple parts. So if you're like thrown off by like, what? That's why. Anyway, so without further ado, George, take us away.
All right, E.T., the Extraterrestrial, aka A Boy's Life by Melissa Matheson. The black screen becomes a night sky as one by one stars begin to poke through and come to life in the darkness. We begin titles. We pan across the sky, creating the illusion of moving deeper into space. This illusion is shattered with the intrusion of a familiar crescent moon. The moon drops behind a gnarled tree limb, and the limb pulls away to reveal the pointed treetops of a redwood forest. Soft light is visible through the heavy camouflage of trees. The view moves towards this light, up and over the trees, and finally comes to rest on a freak clearing, a barren meadow nestled among the towering trees. It's here that we see the spaceship. The ship gently floats, anchored to the earth by a beam of lavender light. End titles. Exterior, the landing site, night. The spaceship is not large. It slightly resembles a reflective hot air balloon, a Christmas tree ornament, inscribed with a delicate Gothic design. An open hatch door stretches down to the grassy landing site. Soft pastel light spills from the interior of the ship, and in this light we make out the movements of creatures. The creatures are short, stocky, humanoid, but our distance and the misty atmosphere prevent any close identification of features. The creatures are banded together, working with strange, antiquated tools, probing the earth. Their jerky movements and their reaction to the slightest sound, an owl hooting, a bird flying, the rustle of leaves, reveal their hesitancy and fear. A smoky white camouflaging mist seems to emanate from the creatures themselves, on an inhale-exhale rhythm, as if their hot breath was consolidating in the cool night air, blanketing their tracks with fog. An owl hoots, the creatures freeze, the danger passes, work is resumed. Insert on hands, a strange pair of hands, four-fingered, long and slender, delicate. The hands dig into the soil and pull a flowering herb from the ground. Long shot on a creature. One creature walks towards the open hatch door, carrying the same flowering weed. Follow him up the gangplank and into the ship. Inside the ship, a soft white din of mist. We hear clearly now the unique breathing pattern of the creature as we see his obscured form move through the ship. Interior ship's greenhouse. The mist clears and we are in a greenhouse, a Gothic cathedral of a structure. Heavy precipitation drips from the decorative fanning roofline. The creature places the herb in a basin filled with a thick liquid. Insert on the herb. It takes root in the liquid and straightens with life. It's then spotted by a shaft of pastel light. Pull back on the basin. The basin is filled with plants. Plants which reflect the tropics of Earth, orchids, cactus, a baobab tree. All plants are being systematically nurtured by orchestrated shafts of pastel lights. Exterior landing site, night. The creature descends the gangplank and walks past the group of its fellow creatures. He comes to the edge of this slightly raised field and looks out toward the trees. The creature carefully descends the rocky incline surrounding the field and disappears into a tall grass which marks the entrance to the forest. Reverse on a fellow creature. One fellow creature stops his work. A red light begins to glow in his chest, as if a deeply buried heart were shining, and the red glow was seeping through thin, translucent skin. Exterior tall grass, night. The creature reappears from out of the tall grass. He faces the ship. His heart also begins to shine through, and the ruby glow pinpoints him. A small, awkward creature, alone in the gigantic redwood forest under a starry sky. Reverts on a fellow creature. The fellow creature resumes his work. High angle on the creature. The creature, still lit by his own conscience, turns and looks up at a towering fir tree. The red light goes out. He walks into the forest. Exterior forest. The sounds of the forest rise. Birds, babbling brooks, the twitter of insects. The creature moves deeper into the forest. At his feet, a tableau. A perfect tableau. Wildflowers, ferns, and moss. Pull back. The creature sinks to his haunches and reaches out to take one thing, a sapling, a miniature redwood, a perfect bonsai growing at the feet of its elders. As the creature rises, he is momentarily silhouetted in a glimmer of light coming from the far side of the forest. The creature turns and looks in the direction of his ship. Then he looks back in the direction of the strange light. The creature begins to walk toward the unidentified light. Exterior hill/lookout. To the sound of heavy breathing and an awkward tread, we see the creature's hand reach out and pull back a leafy limb. The view of the source of light is a suburban neighborhood, edging up against the base of the mountains in the border of the forest. Wider on the creature. The creature innocently steps out onto the road and crosses to the far side. High angle on the creature. The creature stands silhouetted on a ragged bluff. A sea of yellow house lights lies below him. Faint sounds of civilization intrude on the soft noises of the forest. Closer on the creature. We cannot see the creature's face, but the stillness and the constancy of his stare and the way his grip tightens on his small tree reveal his fascination, curiosity, and fear. We see one red light come on in the distance. The light is seen by the creature. Suddenly, the creature turns his head to look down the road. Following his reaction, we hear the sound of a motor, and with no further warning, harsh, blinding white lights streak around the corner. The creature throws himself to the ground, sliding down the embankment on the wrong side of the fire road. Close, the sapling. The sapling rolls away from the curb and into the road. Wider, the approaching car pulls to a stop. A tire crushes the small redwood under muddy rubber. The creature's POV. The car door opens and a man steps out. Seen only from the waist down are dark pants, heavy boots, and a huge ring of keys hanging from his belt. The keys make a tremendous racket, displacing all other sounds of the night. Reverse. The creature slides under cover just as his red light comes on. We see a glimmer of it through shrubbery. His hand moves in to cover it. Wider on more cars converging on the scene. We see bright headlights and hear slamming doors, muffled voices. Then we hear the creature break a branch from a shrub. He holds it against his chest, the sound of keys. The sudden shafts of flashlight beams encircle the road and shoot out into the trees. The creature moves unnoticed along the hillside. He crosses the road. Exterior ravine, night, long shot. We see shadows of men jumping the ravine and heading into the forest. The creature hides in the near end of the shallow ravine. Keys is the last to jump. The sound of keys is hideous. Close on the creature, we see the creature's trembling form and hear a sharp inhalation of breath as Keys jumps. Behind the camouflaging branch, we see the creature's heart throb violently. Exterior, the landing site, night. The ship is dark. All hands are on board. The silence of this spot is broken by the distant shouts of men. The fellow creature remains in the door opening, his heart light sending frantic signals into the dark forest. Exterior, the forest. The creature moves quickly but awkwardly through the forest. His breathing is heavier now. Flashlight beams scour the forest. The creature bursts past human legs, zigzagging invisibly through the tall grass. The rush of movement almost topples one human searcher, and there are sudden, amazed shouts of discovery. The creature's ruby-red beacon is all that can be seen. Keys jangle horrifically as the phalanx of men moves forward. Exterior, the landing site. Hatch door lifts. The last image from the interior of the ship is the fellow creature's red light. As the ship's pedal door spirals to a stop, and we hear a panicked group breath. Exterior, tall grass. The creature emerges from the trees and dives into the tall grass. Exterior, the landing site. The ship hovers, then departs quickly, spinning above the treetops and disappearing into the night sky. Closer on the creature. The creature stands in the deserted landing site. The grass is flattened where the ship once stood. The creature reaches his arm into the sky and cries out, a sound of desperation, disbelief, and fear. The sound of keys rises. Exterior edge of the forest, night. The creature dashes back into the forest. His red light fades out. We see only a dim shadow now. This is E.T. He is stranded on Earth. Fade out. Fade in. Exterior Elliot's house, night. The sound of keys becomes music. The sound of frightened animals becomes boys' voices. View through a kitchen window. 5 boys are seated around a kitchen table. They are into the final hours of a late-night Dungeons & Dragons game. The table is cluttered with crush bottles, potato chip bags, books, papers, calculators, and a domino maze which is used to signify tonight's dungeon. Interior Elliot's kitchen, night. Close on Elliot, a boy of 9 or 10, shaggy brown hair and deep dark eyes. Elliot is a middle child, fatherless and friendless. Elliot lifts a brightly painted figure from the tabletop maze and places it safely outside the domino wall. This pewter figure is Elliot's fantasy character.
Okay, then, so I run out of the forest, and I think I'll shoot just my arrows at the goblins to make them chase me. I keep running and shooting and running and shooting, and just when they're really mad and about to get me, I throw down my portable hole and climb in and pull the lid closed. Presto, vanished.
Elliot sits back in his chair, highly satisfied with himself.
And now they're really mad and they're coming after you, vegetables.
You've been wanting to do that all night, haven't you?
Elliot nods.
Dumb, Elliot. Really dumb. Everyone knows that if you go inside of a portable hole, you won't be able to breathe once you're inside of it.
Not in 1980.
Anyway, the angle widens on the other boys. They are Michael, Elliot's older brother, 14, tall, lanky, yearning for and nearing the rights of men, cars, women, power. Tyler, Michael's best friend, cute, sassy, wise beyond his years. Greg, also 14, skinny, bad posture, a whiner and a wimp with a heart of gold. And Steve, meticulous, inscrutable, mature, and restrained. The dungeon master in this night's game. Greg is leaning back in his chair, the telephone planted against his ear.
What am I asking for again?
Papa Mau Mau.
Do I have to?
She's my mother, man. I'm supposed to tell her she can't have a request.
It's embarrassing.
Elliot, come here.
You can only use a portable hole once, you know?
I'm using it tonight.
I hope you suffocate in it.
Elliot!
Elliot gets up.
Okay, I can only let you stay in the hole for the million rounds, Elliot.
Since you're out of 10 million rounds.
Michael scrapes together a pile of change on the table.
And go wait for the pizza.
I got you guys this time, didn't I? Huh?
Yeah, you got us, Elliot. You're some bitchin' dude.
Elliot exits. Exterior hallway night. Elliot runs towards his room. Interior Elliot's room. Mary is finishing making Elliot's top bunk bed when he enters the room.
Yeah, Mom?
Mary turns to him. She's
Yeah.
divorced, late 30s, and the only mother who will allow all-night D&D games. Her wet hair is wrapped in a towel and she's wearing a silk kimono.
Do you see what this room looks like right now?
Elliot looks. It's obviously brand new clean, a place for everything and everything in its place. The things are the cultural artifacts of prepubescent boys. Toys, stolen street signs, record player, guppies. One distinguishing feature in this room is a skylight covered with a hand-painted sheet featuring a dragon and his fiery breath.
Thanks.
No dirty dishes, clothes put away, bed made, desk neat.
Mary picks up a letter on Elliot's desk and looks at the envelope.
This is what a mature person's room is supposed to look like all the time. What does your father have to say?
Oh, nothing.
Mary changes the subject.
You want to repaint in here? It's getting a little grungy.
Sure.
What color?
Black.
Cute. Healthy sign.
I like black. It's my favorite color.
Mary, your song's on.
Yeah, there you go.
Your song, Mom. Come on.
Elliot pulls Mary towards the door.
Okay, now listen, seriously. I'm not cleaning your room again until Christmas at least, okay? It can pile up to the ceiling for all I care. I'm not stepping foot in here, got it?
Elliot nods. Mary pushes him out the door and turns off the light. Pull back on Elliot's room. The moonlight seeps in through the breath of the dragon.
Does he mention you guys coming to visit?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. I want Thanksgiving.
Exterior, front of Elliot's house, night, high angle. Technically, it's Mary's house. We see Elliot walk down the driveway. His house is at the top of a cul-de-sac, the last house before the onslaught of forest and mountains. A Volkswagen climbs the steep hill leading to Elliot's house. Tighter on Elliot and the Volkswagen. Elliot meets the Volkswagen at the bottom of the driveway and collects the pizza. Elliot climbs the driveway, balancing the pizza on one hand. Exterior front yard, night. As he heads for the door, there's a sudden loud crashing noise from the backyard. Elliot halts. What's that, Elliot?
Harvey, is that you, boy?
Elliot walks around the side of the house. Exterior backyard, night. Elliot continues calling his dog until he reaches the backyard. A roomy, grassy stretch of land with a vegetable garden and a latticed tool shed. A red light is hanging over the fence gate. The gate is blowing in the wind. We hear what sounds like a sharp inhalation and see what looks like a sucking in of mist through the tool shed door. Elliot tiptoes closer to the shed. He stops to pull an orange from a tree. The sound of music, Papa Mau Mau, can be heard from the house.
Harvey.
There's no response. Elliot lays the pizza on the ground and steps up to the tool shed door. He tosses the orange in. Wait a beat, then the orange comes hurtling back at him. Elliot screams, trips over the pizza, lands right on it, gets up and runs for the back door. Interior kitchen. Mary is filling the dishwasher, singing along to her song. The boys are eyeing her suspiciously.
Help, let me in.
Mary unlocks the door.
What in the world?
There's something out there.
Elliot slams the door and locks it.
In the tool shed. It threw an orange at me.
Ooh, sounds dangerous.
Don't go out there.
Immediately, the boys get up to go out there. Mary raises a hand.
Stop. You guys stay right here.
You stay here, Mom. We'll check it out. Mm-hmm.
Tyler, Steve, and Michael are out the door. Greg looks at Mary.
I said stay where you are.
Elliot looks at Mary. Mary grabs a flashlight, and she and Elliot step outside. Reluctantly, Greg follows, stopping to grab a butcher knife. Exterior backyard. The army of boys slink across the backyard. Mary follows them with Elliot on her arm.
What exactly did you see, Elliot?
In there.
Mary shines her flashlight into the tool shed. Inside the tool shed is nothing unusual. Pots, fertilizer, starters, hose, shovels.
There's nothing in here.
The gate's open.
It's open.
It's open. The gate's open.
Look at these.
Exterior backyard night. Mary shines the flashlight into her garden and we see some odd footprints. Back to the group.
The coyotes come back, Mom. Or me.
Okay. Party's over. Back in the house. Greg, give me that knife.
Oh, great. Nice, Elliot.
Tyler is holding the smashed pizza with a Nike shoe print encrusted in the melted cheese.
It was an accident.
Pizza? Who said you guys could order a pizza?
Geek, man.
Long shot on Mary and the boys. Mary shoos the boys into the house. Elliot pulls on her arm.
There was something, I swear.
I know.
Douchebag, Elliot.
Hey, no douchebag talk in my house.
They're all inside now. Mary closes the door. We hear a loud and long exhale coming from the tool shed. You could say douchebag in 1982 in a PG movie. Interior Elliot's room, night. Elliot is asleep on the top bunk, wrapped in his sleeping bag. Harvey, an oversized mutt dog, is asleep on the floor below him. We hear a loud noise from the backyard. Harvey sits up. Elliot immediately wakens and slides out of bed. He's wearing long john socks and a flannel shirt. He grabs his jacket. Exterior backyard. Elliot turns on the back door light and moves cautiously into the yard. He nears the tool shed. He takes a deep breath and shines a flashlight into the shed. Inside the shed, we see nothing. Exterior backyard. Elliot breathes a sigh of relief. We hear a soft crunching sound. Elliot spins around and shines his flashlight into the garden. Exterior vegetable garden. Notices the footprints. He follows them. The prints come to an abrupt end. Elliot parts two tall stacks of corn and shines the flashlight between them. E.T.'s face comes bursting through the corn stalks. It's a terrible sight, like nothing we've ever seen before. E.T.'s wide head is tightened back in leathery creases and furrows. His thin lips are parted in a horrible grimace. His large round eyes are wide, the pupils dilated to an enormous size. Tiny sharp teeth are bared as E.T. makes a terrifying sound, an imitative noise, the sound of keys. The flashlight hits the ground. Elliot hits the ground. In the light, we can see Elliot's small fingers dig into the soil. E.T.'s ugly head screams again. Elliot hugs the ground. He makes a soft, scared sound. From Elliot's POV, E.T.'s odd foot steps into the light. Now we watch the spaceman walk through the garden, up the stairs, and out the gate.
Don't go!
E.T. turns to look at Elliot. Just then, Harvey appears out of nowhere, barking and lunging towards E.T. Back to Elliot. He leaps to his feet, grabs the dog's collar, and pulls him back. Elliot shuts Harvey inside the tool shed and looks out to the gate. E.T. is gone. Elliot rushes to the gate. No sign of E.T. Wide shot from the backyard. We see Elliot disappear over a mound of dirt. Then he's back, running down the backyard stairs. Interior garage, dawn. Elliot, now fully dressed, kicks up the kickstand and jumps onto his bicycle. Exterior the street. Elliot is racing along the street on his bicycle. Exterior fire road, day. Elliot is huffing and puffing up the fire road. Exterior forest. Elliot walks his bicycle through the forest, his eyes searching for any sign of ET. Exterior the landing site. Elliot comes out of the forest and enters the tall grass. He sees a man pacing the landing site, keys. We see only the man's back, but we hear the steady, annoying sound of keys. Elliot backs into the forest again. Exterior forest. Elliot reaches into his pockets and pulls out a large bag of M&Ms or Reese's Pieces. He begins making a trail through the forest in the direction of his home. Interior kitchen, night. The family is having dinner. Elliot is slumped over his plate, a look of depression on his face as he picks at his food. Gertie, the last child in the family, a 5-year-old girl, tomboy, innocent, and nobody's fool, sits next to Elliot.
What are you going at for Halloween?
Why don't you go as a goblin?
Elliot gives Michael a vile look.
It's not that we don't believe you, honey.
It was real, I swear.
I'm going as a cowgirl.
So what else is new?
Maybe it was an iguana.
It was not an iguana.
Or you know how they say there are alligators in the sewers.
All I'm saying is that you probably just imagined it. This happens.
I couldn't have imagined it.
Maybe it was a pervert or a deformed kid or something.
Damn it,
Yeah,
Michael.
maybe. It was nothing like that.
Maybe an elf or a leprechaun.
It was nothing like that, penis breath.
Elliot, sit down.
Dad would believe me.
Then why don't you call your father and tell him about it?
I can't. He's in Mexico with Sally.
News to Mary.
If you see it again, whatever it is, don't go near it, okay? Call me and we'll have someone come and take it away.
Like the dog catcher?
Exactly.
But they'll give it a lobotomy or do experiments on it or something.
Mary gets up from the table.
It's your turn to do the dishes, fellows.
I set and cleared up.
I said and cleared.
I did breakfast.
I did breakfast.
Mary is leaving the kitchen.
What's the matter, Mom?
He hates Mexico.
Mary exits. Michael cuffs Elliot on the ear.
Grow up, man. Think about how other people feel for a change.
Elliot makes a threatening fist at his brother, then takes his plate from the table and almost throws it into the sink. He turns on the hot water. Steam covers the window as Elliot stares through it. Angle on the sky, the stars. Exterior backyard, night. Elliot sits wrapped in his bag, staring at the starry sky. Exterior backyard, night later. Elliot is curled up, asleep on the ground. We begin to hear E.T.'s peculiar breath pattern, and we see his mist moving slowly closer to Elliot, through the hedge of bushes beside the boy. It's a frightening moment, a sense of impending doom. Close on Elliot, sound asleep, his head resting on his arm. Close on E.T., as he suddenly appears beside the boy. E.T.'s face is soft now, his eyes wide and gentle, his mouth closed. He's shivering badly. E.T. stares at Elliot. He searches the boy's face. Wider on Elliot and E.T. Slowly, Elliot opens his eyes. He instinctively pulls away when he wakes to see E.T. standing next to him. E.T. also instinctively pulls away. E.T. is shivering. His arms are crossed over his chest, hugging his body. A moment of truth between boy and E.T. A dance. One moves closer and one moves further away. Elliot starts to speak and E.T. starts to listen. Elliot clutches his sleeping bag closer to him and E.T. watches enviously.
You're cold.
E.T.'s eyes widen. Elliot pulls off his jacket slowly and carefully. E.T. watches him. Elliot stands. E.T. backs away. Elliot sort of throws his jacket onto E.T.'s shoulders. E.T. shrinks from it in fear. but the jacket manages to cling to E.T.'s pointed shoulders. E.T. calms and pulls the down jacket around him. Now there's silence and no one moves. Slowly, E.T. holds out his hand. Elliot now has reason to fear. E.T. opens his hand. A Reese's Pieces is in his palm. Elliot smiles. Interior hallway, night. Elliot backs down the hall, laying a trail of Reese's Pieces. E.T. follows the trail, picking up the Reese's Pieces. Interior Elliot's room, night. Elliot shuts his door and turns on the light. E.T. shrinks from the light, but we can see him clearly now for the first time. He's 3.5 feet tall, and his thin arms hang below his narrow hips. He has a heavy belly, which protrudes from his jacket, and very short, squashed legs. His feet defy description. His head is oblong and flat, something like a turtle's. His eyes never leave Elliot. Close on Elliot, astonished. Elliot nervously tosses a handful of Reese's Pieces into his mouth and chews noisily. Close on E.T. He looks down at his handful of Reese's Pieces, looks at Elliot, then puts the handful of candy in his mouth and chews. Close on Elliot, fascination. Elliot steps away from the creature. Close on E.T., eating, watching Elliot. E.T.'s eyes are beginning to droop. Close on Elliot, his eyes are beginning to droop. Wider on Elliot. Elliot walks over to his bunk bed and tosses whatever is on the bottom bunk onto the floor. Elliot pats the bed and beckons E.T. with sign language, but E.T. is already lying down on the floor. Elliot throws a blanket over him and sits down in a nearby overstuffed chair. Elliot pulls his feet up and hugs his legs to his body. E.T. pulls the blanket around Tim and looks up to the boy. Elliot touches his eye. E.T. touches his eye. Elliot touches his mouth. E.T. touches his mouth. E.T.'s eyes close. His breathing becomes lighter and he appears to be asleep. Elliot steps down from the chair and tiptoes closer to the creature. E.T., caught in the moonlight coming through the skylight dragon's fiery breath, makes a soft, scared sound with his breath. Exterior forest landing site, night. An ongoing clandestine operation. The earlier image of alien creatures gently probing the earth is replaced with the crude and lumbering movements of humans, scouring the area with a fine-tooth comb. Flash cameras briefly turn night into day as their portable machines churn and beep, displacing the rustle of leaves and the hum of nocturnal life. Close on keys. His hands leave his pockets, and the keys jingle as he bends to the ground. His hands discover a freshly exhumed root ball divot. Something else causes him to pause. Camera moves closer. Keys unearths a Reese's Pieces. He lifts it from the soil. Fade out. Fade in on interior Elliot's room day. Mary has her hand on Elliot's forehead. Elliot appears to be desperately ill.
Oh, you are hot.
Mary sticks a thermometer in Elliot's mouth.
I'll be right back.
Mary exits. Elliot immediately takes the thermometer from his mouth and holds it to the hot light above his head, or his bed. He pulls a heating pad from under the covers and holds that to his face.
Mary, can I back the car out?
Not 1 foot past the driveway, young man.
Elliot puts everything back in its correct place. POV of the closet. The louvered door is closed. At the door, Mary re-enters. She takes the thermometer from Elliot's lips. She reads it as she walks towards the closet. Interior closet, day. We hear a sharp inhalation as the door opens. We see Mary's looming shadow reach into the closet and grab a quilt. The quilt is a fat bundle. It looks as if it might contain E.T. Interior Elliot's room. Elliot's face expresses panic. Mary shakes out the quilt. Relief, it's only a quilt.
Would you like to get on my bed?
Elliot shakes his head no. Mary covers him and leans closer to him.
Okay. You waited outside last night for that thing to come back, didn't you?
Elliot nods.
You think you'll live if I go to work? No TV.
Elliot nods again. Mary kisses him and leaves. Elliot drops his head to his pillow and sighs with relief. Exterior, the front of the house. Michael backs the car down the driveway, screeching to a noisy stop at the sidewalk as his mother steps out of the front door. Interior closet. E.T. sits in the dark closet. We hear the sounds of the family leaving the house. Finally, the door opens and Elliot sticks his head in. E.T. gets to his feet.
Come on, come.
E.T. follows Elliot out of the closet. Interior Elliot's room. E.T. follows Elliot to the center of the room. There's serious hesitancy between them.
Do you talk? You know, talk?
E.T. is silent.
Me human. Boy. Elliot. Elliot.
Silence. Elliot leads ET over to his desk. Elliot picks up a Lego and holds it for ET to see.
Lego. It's a block.
Elliot bites down on the Lego.
It's plastic.
Elliot turns on the radio. The music player is out.
Music.
ET holds his hands over his ears. Elliot turns the radio off. ET's attention is drawn back to the things on the desk. ET lifts a quarter.
Money.
ET bites the quarter.
No. Are you hungry? I'm hungry.
Elliot eases himself out the door and says to ET,
You stay, okay? Stay.
ET stares at Elliot as the boy shuts the door and leaves him alone. Interior hallway outside Elliot's door. As Elliot closes his bedroom door, he has to face a very nervous Harvey. Elliot pauses to console the dog.
He's good. He won't hurt you. No bite. Come on.
Harvey reluctantly follows Elliot, pausing to look again at the closed door and whimper. Interior Elliot's room. Left to his own devices, ET wanders around Elliot's room. He lifts a cardboard box and drops it, spilling Legos all over the floor. He moves on to the record player and unknowingly scratches the needle across the surface of a record. At this point, he looks up and sees the fierce face of a poster leopard staring down at him. ET moves back to the desk and examines the debris on it. A mountain of stuff which has been organized by Mary. ET pulls on a handle and dumps the contents of the desk drawer onto the floor. He stoops to examine this wonderful stuff. Rubber bands, pens, pencils, screwdriver, string, nails. Under the desk is an umbrella. ET presses a button on the handle and the umbrella pops open, scaring the creature half to death. Interior kitchen. At the moment of ET's fear of the umbrella, we cut to Elliot standing at the refrigerator. Elliot shrieks and drops a bottle of grape juice, splattering glass and purple liquid across the kitchen floor. Interior Elliot's room. Back to ET, having some difficulty getting to his feet. The door opens and Elliot peeks in, 2 dripping peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in his fists.
You okay? I almost had heart failure.
ET swoons and catches himself on the desk. Elliot reaches out for the creature, but his hands are full of sandwiches and he's still too timid to touch ET. ET straightens.
Too much excitement, huh? It's okay. Come with me. Come.
There's heavy perspiration on ET's face and he's paled considerably, but he rallies and follows Elliot out of the room. Interior bathroom. ET and Elliot stand side by side, facing the mirror, eating their sandwiches. Elliot holds his hand up to the mirror and ET holds his up beside it.
Jeez, look at those monsters. Fingers. Hands.
ET drops his hand down to the faucet. Elliot turns the faucets on.
This is where our water comes from. See? Hot. Cold.
ET places his sandwich on the sink and sticks his hands in the water. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just water. Yeah, you like it, I can tell.
ET splashes his face with the water.
Look at this. This is great.
Elliot turns on the tub. He motions for ET to get in.
Go on, it won't kill you.
Elliot helps ET to the tub and hands him his sandwich. The phone rings. ET just about jumps out of his skin when he hears the phone. Elliot just about jumps out of his skin at the same moment. Elliot stares at ET, then whispers.
It's okay. It's only the phone. Relax. Yes. Stay. Stay.
ET sits, sandwich in hand. Interior Mary's room. The phone is automatically answered on the 3rd ring. We hear this recording.
Hello, we can't come to the phone right now, but if you leave a message, we'll be sure to get back to you. Elliot? Elliot, can you hear me? Answer if you can. Elliot?
Elliot drops down onto his mother's bed and answers the phone.
Hi, Mom.
We can see into the bathroom from here. As Elliot lies back on the bed, we see ET sink down behind the rim of the bathtub. We hear a deep inhalation. Elliot exhales a contented sigh and eats his sandwich. He makes a face at the taste.
I'm fine. Yuck. Huh? Oh. I still have a fever and stuff.
Interior bathroom. We can see Elliot from the bathroom. We can also see ET floating, his entire body and head and the sandwich underwater.
Yeah, no. Uh-huh. Okay. Well, bye.
Elliot enters the bathroom and screams. Close on ET. He opens his eyes and looks up at Elliot through a thick layer of water. Angle on Elliot and ET. Elliot grabs E.T.'s arm, the first time he's touched the creature, and pulls him from the water.
You can drown doing that kind of stuff.
E.T. inhales again and sinks back into the water. Elliot still has his hands around E.T. Elliot waits. E.T. stays under. Elliot waits. He notices now that he's gripping E.T. Elliot pulls his hands away, then returns them and begins to tenderly stroke E.T.'s body, the way a boy might pet a snake for the first time. E.T. blinks up at the boy.
Are you part aquatic elf?
Interior Elliot's room. Elliot and E.T., with a towel over his shoulder, sit on the floor in the sunlight coming through the dragon's breath. Elliot has the book Goblins and Gnomes spread open on the floor, and together, he and E.T. look at the pictures. Insert drawings, fantastical drawings of make-believe creatures. Back to Elliot and E.T. Elliot looks from the book to E.T. E.T. looks from the book to Elliot with the same expression of confusion. Interior closet. Elliot is redecorating this large closet, which separates his room from Gertie's, while E.T. watches from the doorway. Stuffed animals have taken position as the front line, blocking view of the living area, an empty cell lined with storage boxes and unused recreational equipment. This cell is padded with a patchwork quilt and rounded with pillows. A dog bowl full of water sits next to a bag of Oreos. He lifts a newspaper and unfolds it. The glare through the closet's window silhouettes Elliot's face behind the colored funny pages. Elliot lays the newspaper on the floor.
Come, please.
Elliot takes E.T.'s hand and leads him to the nesting place.
This is your room. Home. You stay, okay? Stay. I'll be right here.
Elliot backs out of the closet. E.T. is now revealed, sitting in the living area, looking a little sad and forlorn. The closet door shuts. E.T. looks around. He immediately squints, takes a red kerchief from a shelf, and covers the lampshade. The light is now softened to a pastel pink. E.T. looks at a stuffed toy leopard sitting on a shelf beside him. Cautiously, E.T. touches the leopard's floppy paw. The leopard falls lifelessly into E.T.'s lap. E.T. jumps, knocking over the lamp. The lamp spins wildly on its base, highlighting all the strange and foreign objects that clutter E.T.'s new home. Skateboards, hat boxes, a woman's sewing figure. The light spins past E.T. as it makes its rounds. Finally, it slows to a stop, coming to rest on a newspaper cartoon at E.T.'s feet. E.T. slowly bends down to look at the cartoon. Insert a Flash Gordon comic strip. This segment features a spaceman standing beside his crashed spaceship on a desolate planet. The lower corner reads, "To be continued." Back to E.T. Pull back as E.T. ponders the comic. Interior kitchen, day. Michael, wearing his football jersey and shoulder pads, unlocks the kitchen door and steps into the house singing.
Accidents will happen, but it's only a hit and run.
Interior Elliot's room. Michael opens the door. Elliot stands in the center of his debris-strewn room. Michael makes himself at home. Elliot remains stiff and motionless. Elvis Costello, accidents will happen.
How you feeling, Faker?
Fine.
Tyler says he got 69,000 at asteroids yesterday, but he pulled the plug, so who knows?
I've got something really important to tell you.
Michael looks up.
Okay? This is the most important, probably the most serious thing ever.
What'd you do?
Okay. Remember the goblin?
You're so lame,
He
Elliot.
came back.
Bullshit.
One thing, I have absolute power. Say it.
What have you got? Is it the coyote? Let me see it.
No, swear first. The most excellent promise you can make.
Okay. He's yours, Mom. Going to kill you?
Okay. Stand over there. And you'd better take off your shoulder pads.
What?
You might scare him. Go on.
Michael removes his shoulder pads as Elliot goes to the closet.
And close your eyes.
Don't push it.
I'm not coming out until your eyes are closed.
Okay, they're closed.
Elliot and E.T. step out of the closet. Elliot puts his arm over E.T.'s shoulder and nods to the creature reassuringly. He looks at his brother again.
Swear it. One more time. I have.
You have absolute power, all right? Already?
All right.
The door suddenly flies open. Gertie comes running in. She sees E.T. and lets out a terrified scream. Michael opens his eyes, sees E.T. and screams. E.T. screams. Elliot screams. Elliot catches himself and yells.
Make her stop. Make her stop.
Ah!
Michael clamps his hand over Gertie's mouth. Gertie clutches her 3-foot Indian doll.
In the closet, fast!
Michael hurries Gertie into the closet. Inside the closet, Michael and Gertie leap into the closet. The door closes, then opens a second later, and E.T. comes tumbling into the closet. The door closes with a bang. Interior Elliot's room. Mary steps into the room. Elliot is draped over the stuffed chair. The room looks as if a cyclone hit it.
Hi, honey. What happened in here?
What do you mean?
Look at this. How is this possible?
Interior closet. Michael still has his hand over Gertie's mouth. Both children have their eyes glued on E.T. E.T. turns from the children's fearless faces to peek between the slats of the louvered door, from his POV on Mary.
Oh! You mean my room.
This isn't a room. This is an accident.
Mary walks across the room and kisses Elliot on the forehead. Interior Elliot's room.
I'll clean it.
This must means that you're feeling well enough to go to school tomorrow.
Elliot nods. Mary heads for the door.
You fellas keep an eye on Gertie while I take a shower.
For sure.
Mary leaves. Inside the closet, you could cut the silence with a knife. Elliot enters. The children speak in whispers.
I'm keeping him. What?
Gotta tell Mom.
Oh, no. She'll want to do this right thing. You know what that means, don't you? Dog food. Or lobotomy.
What is it?
He's good. I can feel it.
Michael indicates Gertie.
She'll blab it for sure.
Gertie, he's not going to hurt you.
Elliot smiles. Gertie nods. Michael loosens his grip.
A boy or girl?
He's a boy.
How can you tell?
Now, you're not going to tell, are you? Even Mom.
Why not?
Because, grown-ups can't see him. Only kids can see him.
Give me a break. Elliot looks at Michael.
You know what will happen if you tell.
Michael takes Gertie's doll and pretends he's wrenching its arm off.
Do it, Mike. We have to.
No, don't break my arm, please. I'll do anything. It hurts, please.
Italian, Mr. Bill, I guess. Gertie's eyes fill with terror. E.T. watches.
Stop it!
Promise.
Yes.
For sure?
Michael and Gertie nod.
Is he from the moon?
Was he wearing any clothes?
Oh, yeah, he's from the moon. Isn't that exciting?
Gertie nods.
Come help with dinner, everybody.
Elliot smiles at E.T., then nods to the others.
Okay, act straight.
Interior kitchen, night. The family sits at the dinner table, nibbling the remains of their hamburgers, each lost in his or her own thoughts. Elliot wipes his mouth.
Delicious.
Elliot gets up with his plate.
May I take your plate?
Yes, thank you.
Mary is amused by Elliot's manners. Elliot takes the plates to the sink.
I made a house in the big closet today.
Michael suddenly rises with his plate and carries it to the sink. He gives Elliot a quick hip shot.
What kind of house?
Sort of like a hideout.
Oh.
Mama? Why do we see what you don't see?
We don't.
Because we're different people. We see things differently. What did you do with all the stuff in there, Elliot?
I reorganized.
Really?
What are the people who aren't people?
There's no such thing.
Mary puts the kettle on the stove.
Can I keep the hideout?
Can he?
For a little while.
Mary goes to the cupboard for the teapot.
Too bad I won't be able to see it until Elliot cleans his room.
While her back is turned, the children share a victorious moment.
She really can't see it.
Mary fills the teapot.
All right, I've got some stuff to do. Will you finish up in here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Children all smile at Mary as she leaves the room. The moment she's gone, Elliot grabs a clean plate and each child adds some tidbit of food to E.T.'s dinner. Elliot heads for the hallway with a tray full of food.
Watcher, when the coast is clear, you can come in. Knock 3 times.
Interior second floor hallway, night. Michael sneaks up the stairs, taps 3 times at Elliot's door, and is granted passage. Gertie is right behind him. Reverse angle on Mary's room. Mary is sitting on the floor of her bedroom folding laundry. She looks up and sees Gertie.
What are you doing, Gertie?
I'm gonna play in Elliot's room.
Okay. Don't let them torture you.
Back to Gertie at the top of the stairs. She pauses at the top of the stairway, lifts a rather droopy geranium in a pretty blue pot, and carries it to Elliot's door. Interior Elliot's room, night. Michael lets Gertie in. Harvey butts his way in behind her. E.T. immediately notices the geranium in Gertie's hands. He eats an orange without peeling it. The children speak to one another in whispers.
Maybe he's just some animal that wasn't supposed to live. You know, like those rabbits we saw that time. Elliot, but I don't believe in stuff like this.
I do. Now. I always did, really.
E.T. examines some clay on Elliot's desk. He closes his fingers and the clay gushes through them.
I got an idea. Get the atlas.
Michael pulls the atlas from Elliot's shelf. They open it, lay it across E.T.'s plate, and turn pages until they reach the United States.
Look, see? This is where we are. You know that much.
Michael grabs the globe.
Use this.
Elliot closes the book and points to the United States on the globe.
See, we're here. Where are you from?
E.T. looks at the globe. He points out the window.
I don't like his feet.
Shh. They're only feet. He's just trying to tell us something.
Elliot opens the atlas again. It opens to a drawing of the solar system. E.T. stops Elliot from turning the page. Elliot points to the globe and to the planet Earth in the drawing. E.T. points to the drawing and then out the window.
Yeah, Earth. Home.
E.T. takes the clay and begins rolling balls. E.T. places 5 clay balls on the solar system drawing.
Can't count.
Wait.
E.T. points to the map, then to the balls. He points to the globe and to Elliot and to one small ball and himself. Elliot shivers, one of the cosmic shivers that run up your spine.
Oh no.
Elliot.
Balls lift off of the book. They rise in the air above the children's heads, and they begin to spin, to orbit really, 5 of them around the one larger sun ball. E.T. points to the balls, then points out the window. He looks at the children. Close on the children. Shock, horror, and realization on their faces. Wider on E.T. and the children. E.T. points to the same small ball and back to himself.
Oh no.
Elliot.
Oh no.
Suddenly the balls fall to the floor. E.T. turns his head in the direction of the window. Harvey's ears suddenly perk up and he looks to the window. Elliot shivers. His face reflects E.T.'s fear.
What is it?
I don't know. Something scary.
What?
I don't know.
E.T. is on his feet. He tries to push the children into the closet. They immediately oblige him, curious and confused. Gertie is still holding the geranium. Inside the closet, E.T. backs into the living area of the closet. Elliot slips out of the closet. Interior Elliot's house. Elliot quickly sneaks down the stairs and out the front door. Exterior backyard. Elliot runs up the flagstone stairs. The red gate light is on. We hear the sound of keys. Exterior backyard gate. Elliot stands at the gate, illuminated by the red light. He can hear the sound of keys and the steady ticking of a Geiger counter. Reverse into the darkness. We see nothing. Exterior backyard. Elliot closes the gate. Deep fear is visible in his face. The sound of keys grows louder. Elliot looks up at the dark, starry sky. Exterior/interior Elliot's room. Night. View of a night sky filled with stars. The view pulls into Elliot's room. Elliot is sitting on his top bunk, silhouetted against his window, wrapped in a blanket. His focus is unchanging, directed at the closet. His door opens, and Michael, clad in pajamas, comes in and climbs up next to him. Together they stare in the direction of the closet. The camera moves across the filthy room and towards the closet. The door is open and a dim light can be seen. Interior of the closet. The camera moves into the closet, past the barricades of storage boxes and stuffed animals. E.T. sits in his living area looking through one of Gertie's ABC books. He turns the pages slowly, stopping at the letter B for boy. E.T. touches the drawing of the small boy. E.T. looks up and his attention is drawn to the geranium now placed under the closet window. E.T. stares at the flower. Reverse on the flower. Before our eyes, the flower turns on its stem. As it faces E.T., it straightens, In a burst of life, its tight buds begin to open, suddenly blooming, bursting forth in brilliant red flowers. Back to E.T. He strums his fingers on the drawing of the boy, and we hear him speak softly.
Elliot. Elliot.
Fade out. Fade in. Exterior Elliot's neighborhood day. Elliot pedals his bike slowly down the sidewalk as Michael walks beside him. They're dressed for school. Jeans, jackets, backpacks. They both look worried.
Okay, so he hears real good and he can move stuff without touching it. And oh God, Elliot, how do you know there aren't more of them?
Elliot is silent. He looks slightly paranoid as he turns to double check every adult in the vicinity. The milkman, a lady walking a dog, a man sitting in a car at the corner.
He's alone. Any moron can see that. Is that our regular milkman?
Michael looks and nods.
Who was that man? Why'd he scare him?
I think he was looking for.
I think he was looking for him.
You gotta tell.
Oh, I see. Yep.
You gotta
He
tell
was looking
Elliot.
for him.
Yeah, you gotta tell Elliot it's too serious.
No, I have absolute power. You said it. He needs time. He wants to stay with us. He has to plan his strategy.
How do you know what he wants? Is he in your brain or something?
Elliot begins to answer, but Michael presses on.
He's a man from outer space, Elliot, a real live extraterrestrial. We could all wake up and find ourselves on Mars or something surrounded by millions of these little squashy guys.
Don't get crazy.
This is an excellent time to get crazy. And besides, maybe he's not smart enough to plan any strategy. Maybe he's like a worker bee who only knows how to push buttons or something.
He is too smart, and he's good. It's weird. It's like I know how he feels, and he's good, and I can tell.
Well, you'd better think nice about him, just in case.
Exterior street corner day. They've reached the corner bus stop. Children of all ages are grouped together on 4 different corners. As Elliot and Michael reach the corner, Tyler yells out,
Elliot, where's your goblin?
The other D&D boys laugh. Elliot gives his brother a disappointed look, the look of one who has yet one more time been the butt of older boys' jokes.
Shut up.
Did he come back?
Elliot ignores the boys.
Did he?
Yeah, he came back, and he wasn't a goblin. He was a spaceman.
Michael punches Elliot on the arm. The boys laugh.
Oh, radical, man.
You're so immature.
And you're Centus Supremus.
Watch your mouth, Tyler. Yellow school bus pulls to a stop in front of the boys. The older ones board. A bus pulls up to the opposite corner and small children board that one. Interior bus. Michael reaches a seat on the bus, pulls up the window, leans out. Elliot whispers to him.
This is going to be the longest day of my life.
The bus pulls away. Elliot climbs on his bike and shoves off, doing wheelies down the sidewalk. Interior front door, day. Mary shoos Gertie out the front door.
Go get in the car. We're late.
Gertie exits. Mary grabs her purse, lifts a bundle of clothes for the dry cleaner, and hears an odd sound coming from upstairs. Mary pauses, puts down her bundle, and climbs the stairs. Interior Elliot's room. Mary opens the door and enters the room. She grimaces at the accumulating mess. She starts to leave the room, then has a second thought. She goes to the closet. Inside the closet, Mary opens the door and steps in. She has to bend over to walk to the rear of the closet. She peeks at the nesting area. It's empty. Mary smiles at the sweet childishness of Elliot's hideout. She never notices E.T., lost among the lineup of stuffed animals, a disgustingly cute frozen look on his face. Mary exits. Exterior front of the house, day. Mary runs down to the bottom of the driveway, gets into the car. She and Gertie drive away. Interior Elliot's room, day. E.T. sticks his head out of Elliot's bedroom door. The house is quiet. Only Harvey is home, and he rises from his post outside Elliot's door when he sees E.T. Interior kitchen, day. An empty kitchen. E.T.'s head peeks around the door. Convinced he's alone, E.T. walks into the kitchen. The refrigerator starts to hum suddenly. E.T. stops in his tracks. He assumes his defensive, open-mouthed howling position. Nothing happens. E.T. opens the icebox door. He shivers in the blast of cold air, but recognizes objects of food and lingers long enough to get something to eat. A handful of potato salad and a can of beer. E.T. sticks his long, skinny finger in the beer can's pop top and pulls it free. He pours the beer down his throat. Interior science lab day. Elliot is scribbling ET over and over again on his peachy as the science teacher at the front of the room rambles on about frog dissection.
So, we're going to peel the skin back and take a look inside the frog. You'll notice that the lungs will not collapse.
Suddenly, Elliot lets out a loud belch. There's silence in the classroom. Then the teacher continues.
And that the heart will go on beating for a short time after the death of the frog. You'll get to see it if you work quickly.
Children all around Elliot, including the very pretty girl at his side, turn to stare at the offender. Elliot is shocked at himself. He recovers quickly and points to the frog in the glass jar sitting on the laboratory sink in front of him. Close on the frog. He tries to climb the side of the glass jar, his webbed feet slipping on the smooth surface. The frog croaks. Interior playroom day. E.T. carrying 2 cans of beer wanders into the family playroom. Gertie's speak and spell is lying on the couch. E.T. pops another beer top, pours the contents down the hatch, and cautiously presses a button on the toy. The game speaks to him.
C. C. Can you spell cat?
The TV remote control is lying beside the speak and spell. E.T. presses a button on that. The TV comes on. E.T. turns to it astonished. Insert. An evangelist is healing blind people in a circus tent. Back to E.T. E.T. presses another button. Insert on cartoons. Back to E.T. E.T. presses the buttons again and again, and the television picture transforms itself before his eyes. E.T. pops another beer top and keeps drinking. He leans against the couch and watches TV. Harvey is now at his side and is licking the remnants of potato salad from E.T.'s dangling alien fingers. E.T.'s head sways on its neck. There's no doubt, E.T. is drunk. Interior classroom day. Close on the teacher, who drops a felt parcel on the desktop and rolls it open. Surgical tools clink as they hit the hard wooden surface.
All right. I'm going to place a cotton ball soaked with ether in each jar. And while we wait for the frogs to expire, we will ready our tools.
Why did you include Elliot? Elliot's face is smack up against the glass jar containing his doomed frog. His sad brown eyes look enormous. Close on the frog, looking into Elliot's eyes. Back to Elliot, who looks up at the murderous teacher and with a cracking voice speaks.
Are you gonna let the poor defenseless little thing die?
Interior playroom day. E.T. is turning into a melancholy drunk. He leaves the playroom and staggers into the kitchen. Interior kitchen. Harvey is at E.T.'s side. E.T. opens the refrigerator and pulls out another beer and something wrapped in tinfoil. E.T. opens the tinfoil and finds a piece of meat. The meat is unrecognizable to him, and he drops it on the floor as he reaches for another handful of potato salad. Harvey eagerly eats the meat as E.T. starts back towards the playroom. An open newspaper on the kitchen table stops him. Insert on today's installment of the Flash Gordon cartoon strip. The downed spaceman from yesterday's cartoon climbs out of his spaceship carrying a machine. He sets it up on the barren ground beneath him, and the machine comes to life, sending radar waves out into space. Back to E.T. E.T. lifts his head. A serene look comes over his face. It's as if we can see the wheels turning as thought takes place. Reverse on the television. The AT&T telephone reach out and touch someone commercial is on. Various old grandmas talking to phones. Back to E.T. His attention moves from the television set back down to the cartoon, his thought continuing. Interior classroom day. Elliot suddenly sits up very straight. He has the same clear thought look that E.T. had.
Save him.
The pretty girl next to Elliot stares at him. Elliot looks down at his frog, now breathing its last. In an instant, Elliot pulls the top from the jar, reaches in, and lifts out the frog. The children around Elliot are shocked. Elliot goes to the next jar and frees that frog, then the next and the next. The classroom is in turmoil. Frogs are leaping for freedom.
Stop that.
Run for your lives! Back to the river! Back to the forest!
Ribbit.
Elliot, stop that.
Elliot is laughing. Interior kitchen day. E.T. looks again at the cartoon. Quickly, E.T.'s head spins on its neck as he spots household items. The whirring blender, the knobs on the stove, a pincushion stuffed with pins, the kitchen radio on the windowsill, the tinfoil on the floor, now being licked by Harvey, an empty coffee can. Interior playroom. E.T. comes back into the playroom, still spotting things. A pair of toy walkie-talkies, a wooden hanger, an electric pencil sharpener. E.T. goes to the couch and punches the TV remote control. Insert as the TV cuts to a soppy love scene from an old movie. Wider on E.T. E.T. lifts the speak and spell, and his fingers play on the buttons, activating the digital readout board and the toy's voice. E.T. looks up at the TV. Insert on the hero grabbing the heroine, pulls her head back and kisses her. Back to E.T. He looks at Harvey, wraps his arms around the dog, and kisses him on his shiny black lips. Interior classroom, day. Elliot is being led by the scruff of the neck from the classroom. The pretty girl stands near the doorway, a happily croaking frog in her hands. She smiles at Elliot. Elliot grabs the girl by the hair, bends her over, and kisses her on the lips. Children are tripping all over themselves, trying to catch frogs. Interior hallway, day. Elliot walks down the long school hallway, followed by his teacher. Interior playroom, day. E.T. is sitting in front of the couch, a blanket laid out picnic style at his feet. The blanket is covered with the household items spotted by E.T. in his last appearance. Some of them have already been dissected. Wires and screws are separated into piles. Harvey is still on the scene. Suddenly his ears perk up. We hear the front door open. E.T.'s attention is on his pile of stuff. Angle on Mary. We see Mary. She comes walking down the hallway, her arms full of grocery bags. She cannot see E.T. Insert. E.T. lifts the speak and spell. He turns it over. The back has been removed, and we can see the intestines of the toy, a roadmap schematic of the workings. Interior school hallway. We hear the heavy footsteps of adults. They open the infirmary door. Interior infirmary. A typical enough looking nurse's room, but the white walls, the white formica sink, the white medicine chest, and the white linoleum floor are all covered with speak and spell schematic pattern. Scratched and marked a lot in a childish hand. The door opens wider and wider. No Elliot. The door opens wider still, and Elliot is revealed, working his way out the door and down the stairs of the infirmary's rear exit, scratching out the code of the speak and spell. Interior kitchen. Mary is putting away groceries.
Here he is,
Here who is?
the man from the moon.
Mary laughs.
Oh, what a wonderful surprise.
Now,
Interior playroom. Gertie, wearing her full cowgirls ensemble, smiles down at E.T.
I don't have a cowgirl hat, but I do have a flaming saddle saloon hat, and that's good enough. What are you doing down here? Look how much work you've done. Were you scared? Is Harvey nice to you?
Interior kitchen. Harvey, always looking for a handout, stands next to Mary as she loads the refrigerator.
Were you a nice Harvey? Hmm?
Harvey barks. The phone rings. Mary answers.
Hello?
Interior playroom. Sesame Street has come on the TV. We hear Big Bird's voice.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
And monsters.
Insert on the TV. We see the funny little creatures. Close on E.T. He pulls the backs off of the toy walkie-talkies. Wider on Gertie watching TV, and we hear Big Bird introduce the letter B.
This is she? How do you mean acting strangely?
B. B.
Beep, 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 beep.
Gertie looks at E.T. as she recites. He finally becomes aware that he's being spoken to when Gertie puts her cowgirl hat on his head. Interior kitchen. Mary is still on the phone.
Well, he was feeling ill yesterday, but intoxicated? Intoxicated. Are you sure you have the right Elliot?
Interior playroom. E.T. looks at Gertie. We hear the letter B for many things being repeated on television.
B.
B.
You said B. Good.
Be good.
Gertie!
Gertie climbs up on the back of the couch where she can see her mother in the kitchen.
Gertie, I have to go pick up Elliot. Could you be a good girl and stay here and watch Sesame Street? And I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Mama, he can talk.
Of course he can talk, okay? Stay right here.
Mary runs out the back door. Gertie slides back down and smiles at E.T.
Hi.
Hi.
E.T. points to the telephone on the coffee table. He looks at Gertie.
Phone?
Phone.
You want to call somebody?
Interior, outside doorway to principal's office, day. Elliot is led through the reception area and into the principal's office. Interior principal's office. Over the principal's shoulder, we see Elliot slump into a chair on the far side of the massive desk.
Tell me, what is it, son? Pot? Quaaludes? Angel wings?
Elliot looks up at the principal, hopelessness written all over his face. Interior first floor stairway. E.T., now wearing the cowgirl hat, belt, and gun, stands at the foot of the stairs. The blanket which had held all the collected household items is now wrapped into a bulky bundle. E.T. stares at the bundle and concentrates. The bundle begins to bounce its way up the staircase. Gertie stands beside E.T. She laughs and claps out the stair count.
1, 2, 3. Ooh.
Bundle falls back to step 1. Close on E.T. Tired and not very strong, he tries again. Interior principal's office.
I see you fine young people searching for escape at such a tender age.
Elliot looks as if he's about to speak, but he's interrupted, not by a burp this time, but by a bounce. Elliot and the chair lift into the air. They rise a foot, then crash back down again.
Sure, the world looks like a hopeless, cruel place.
Elliot stares at the principal. The principal has his glasses off. He's wiping the lenses. He did not witness the levitation. Interior staircase. Day. The bundle moves up the stairs.
9, 10. 2 more.
Interior principal's office. Elliot is almost head against the ceiling now.
But reporting to drugs and liquor is no answer. Resorting to drugs and liquor is no answer.
The principal looks up at the levitating Elliot. The principal's thumb goes through his glasses frame, punching out a lens. The man's hands begin to shake. Suddenly, Elliot and the chair fall back down. The door opens. Mary enters.
Oh, Mom.
Mary starts to speak, but the principal interrupts her.
Yes, this is your mother? That's a fine idea. A little rest is all you need.
Mary looks at Elliot and in sign language asks him if he's been drinking. Elliot shakes his head. No.
I'm sure this was all some sort of misunderstanding.
The principal opens a drawer and pulls out a tray of pills. His hands are shaking violently.
Can I go now, sir?
Yes, please. Dismissed.
Elliot takes Mary's hand and leads her from the room, and we never see the principal again. Interior front door. Elliot opens the door, throws his backpack on the table, and runs up the stairs. Mary comes in behind him, looking a bit bedraggled. Interior second floor hallway. Elliot is running towards his room when he notices that Gertie's door is open. Through Gertie's door, we see Gertie struggling to close the closet door. Inside of Gertie's room, Elliot steps into Gertie's room and closes her door. Gertie looks up. She steps away from the closet. Elliot walks past her and shoves open the closet door. Interior closet. E.T. stands as Elliot enters the nesting area, an area now crammed full with household objects. E.T. bows to Elliot, and the cowboy hat falls over one eye. E.T. stands erect and speaks.
Elliot.
Elliot smiles. Gertie moves to his side.
I taught him how to talk. He can talk now.
Elliot takes the hat from E.T.'s head. He spots the open speaking spell.
You talk to me.
Elliot removes the cowboy vest.
E.T. Can you say that? I'm Elliot. You're E.T.
E.T.
Well, I taught him that, and I taught him be good.
Elliot hands Gertie her cowboy clothes and pushes her out the door.
You should give him his dignity.
Elliot shuts the door on Gertie. He looks back at E.T. E.T. lifts the Flash Gordon cartoon and shows it to Elliot.
Is this strategy?
E.T. inhales and speaks.
Phone.
Phone.
E.T. points to the cartoon and out the door. Elliot does not understand. E.T. carries the cartoon to the closet door leading to Elliot's room. Elliot opens the door. Interior Elliot's room. Elliot runs to his door and locks it. E.T. steps out of the closet. He points back into the closet.
Home.
Elliot nods.
E.T. home.
E.T. points out the window.
E.T. Home. phone.
There are 3 knocks at the door.
E.T. phone home?
Elliot opens the door and grants Michael entrance. Michael closes the door behind him and locks it.
E.T. phone home.
Michael spins around and looks at E.T.
It.
E.T. phone home?
E.T. points out the window.
And they'll come?
Michael drops to a chair.
Talking Elliot?
E.T. looks longingly out the window. Interior van, night. We're inside a high-tech audio snooper van. Keys is at the control board. We see blinking lights and hear static. We realize that Keys is honing in on the suburban conversations of Elliot's neighborhood.
Mom, to make cookies, is a cup of milk the same as a cup of flour?
What do you mean you're going out? Where?
Just get out of my life, will you? Mm.
Come on, my parents won't be home for hours.
No, really.
It's good for you. Makes your skin clear up.
Peter says the Redskins were defeated. When he and the boys captured by the pirates, I'll rescue her. And Tink rings out a warning cry. Oh, that's my medicine! Poisoned?
I guess we should just get anything that looks like you can make a machine with it.
What would make radar?
Keys adjusts his knobs and tunes in on the conversation.
How the hell do I know? You're the genius here. You have absolute power, remember? I found him. He belongs to me.
Keys waves his hand and the van comes to a stop. Exterior Elliot's house, night. A nondescript van is parked at the bottom of Elliot's driveway. We can see lights spilling out from under the garage door. Interior garage. Elliot and Michael are filling cardboard boxes with tools, wires, and machine-making objects. Michael blows the dust off of a soldering iron and adds that to the box.
You know, Elliot, he doesn't look too good lately.
Don't say that. We're fine.
What's this we stuff? You say we all the time now. I'm not kidding. I think he might be getting kind of sick.
He's fine.
Okay, forget I mentioned it. Grab that fuzz buster.
Elliot adds the radar detecting device to the cardboard box. Michael turns out the light. Interior closet, night. E.T. is sitting in his nesting area. A man's old college jacket is draped over his shoulders. He's working on his communicator. A definite machine has begun to take shape. The wooden hanger now has 26 colored wires protruding from the dowel stick, and these wires are attached to the open speak and spell. The speakers from the walkie-talkies are taped to the front of the speak and spell, and a heavy piece of coaxial cable leads from these speakers to a coffee can. At this moment, E.T. is examining the workings of a child's record player. He's also listening to Mary tell Gertie her bedtime story.
What, Tink? You have drunk my medicine? And she flutters strangely around the room, answering him now in a very thin tinkle. It was poisoned, and you drank it to save my life! Tink, dear Tink, are you dying? No!
Whoa. Elliot opens the closet door and steps in with a cardboard box. E.T. looks up at him. E.T. does look bad. He's paled and has a heavy beading of perspiration on his forehead. He also has the shivers. Elliot looks at the spaceman and his face registers his concern. The boy begins to unload the cardboard box. He pulls out screwdrivers, nails, the fuzzbuster, and the soldering iron. When he pulls out a ragged-toothed saw blade, he scrapes a mean cut in his finger.
Ouch.
The boy blows on his wounded hand. E.T. looks up.
Her light is growing faint, and if it goes out, that means she is dead. Her voice is so low, I can scarcely tell what she is saying.
E.T. raises his forefinger, and it slowly takes on a brilliant pink glow. This is new to Elliot, and the boy automatically backs away from E.T.
She says she thinks she can get in well again if the children believe in fairies. Peter rises and throws out his arms. He knows not to whom, but perhaps to the boys and girls of who he is not one. Do you believe in fairies? Say quick that you believe.
I do!
I do believe!
E.T. touches Elliot's wound with his glowing finger. Gently, he wipes the finger across Elliot's hand. E.T. pulls his hand away and the light goes out. Elliot looks down at his hand. The wound is healed.
Ouch.
If you believe, clap your hands.
Here, Gertie, clap her hands.
Many clap, some don't. A few hiss, but Tink is saved.
Elliot looks up at E.T., who has leaned his head against the wall to hear the end of Mary's story. Elliot takes a corner of the quilt E.T. is sitting on and gently wipes the perspiration from the spaceman's brow. Elliot smiles at E.T. E.T. smiles at Elliot.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And now to save Wendy. Whoa, I'm Tinkerbell.
Interior, Elliot's room, night. Elliot is sound asleep in the top bunk. A copy of How Things Work lies open on his chest. The closet door opens. E.T. steps into the room. E.T. goes to Elliot's bedroom door. Interior, Mary's room. Mary's asleep in her bed. E.T. enters the room. He pauses at the door and looks at Mary's dress hanging on the closet door, a leopard skin dress. E.T. looks around Mary's room, a room filled with plants. E.T. moves closer to Mary. Close on Mary. E.T.'s head rises on its long neck to peer down at Mary's sleeping figure. Wider, Mary turns over and E.T. can see her naked back. Next to Mary's bed is a small cluttered bedside table. Among other things, there's a small silver bowl containing Reese's Pieces. E.T. takes a Reese's Piece and lays it on the pillow next to Mary's head. E.T. quietly leaves the room. Fade out. Fade in. Interior bathroom day. Elliot stands in front of the mirror, applying the last touches to his monster makeup. Gertie is standing on a stool behind him, watching. She's dressed as a cowgirl with hat, vest, boots, and gun. We hear Mary in a loud and angry voice.
No, and that is final. You are not going as a terrorist.
But all the guys are.
Elliot turns and looks at Gertie.
You're going as a ghost, you promised.
I'm only pretending to go as a cowgirl.
You know the
See?
plan by heart.
We'll meet you at the lookout. The lookout. I'm not stupid, you know.
Listen, Buster, you won't get 4 blocks in this neighborhood dressed like that, sir.
Please.
No. Damn it, Michael.
Interior closet day. Elliot enters the closet followed by Michael. E.T. is taken aback by Elliot's monster makeup.
Ready?
Ready.
Elliot, aided by Michael, straps the finished communicator to his back. Interior staircase day. A trick-or-treat bag moves into frame. A battered Nike steps into frame and descends the stairs. This is followed by E.T.'s cartoon feet and finally an even worse-looking, smaller Nike. Interior living room day. View into the dining room.
Okay, Mom, you can look now.
Mary steps into view. She's wearing her leopard dress and eye mask, frizzed hair, and is carrying a wand with a glittering star on top. She smiles adoringly at her children. Harvey wears a bandana around his neck. Reverse on the children. Michael is a hobo, in black clothes, crummy hat, and 5 o'clock shadow. A gag knife shaft is glued to its throat. Elliot is a hunchback, with painted face and a heavy woolen cap covering the communicator on his back. E.T. is supposedly Gertie, disguised as a ghost. White sheet, ski hat, and skeleton face mask. Back on Mary.
Don't move.
He runs into the dining room. E.T. turns his head to look at the television set in the living room. The television set is broadcasting the 6 o'clock news. Insert a news clip on TV. An auto accident. A wounded man is being loaded onto a stretcher. A newsman sticks a microphone in his face. Back to E.T. A white light becomes visible under E.T.'s ghost sheet. E.T. raises his finger. It's glowing. E.T. strokes his finger through the air, not far from the television screen. Insert the television. The man on the stretcher suddenly sits up. He feels his bones. Nothing is broken. He shouts.
Holy shit.
Back to boys. Angle on E.T. and Michael. E.T. looks up at Michael, and before Elliot can shove E.T.'s glowing finger under the sheet, E.T. raises his hand to Michael's artificial wound. Nothing happens. Michael is beside himself with surprise. Elliot grabs E.T.'s hand and pushes it under the sheet just as Mary re-enters the room with a Polaroid.
Aw, you look great.
Wider, a flash from the Polaroid. E.T.'s legs buckle and he starts to collapse under the shock of the flash camera. Michael and Elliot grab his arms and pull him back to his feet. Mary has not seen this slip. She's laying the camera on top of the television and pulling free the instant photo. Insert on the television. The wounded man is on his feet, dancing, screaming, grabbing the microphone and yelling.
I'm fine. Look at this arm. I don't know how.
The man drops to his knees. Back to the boys. While the picture is drying, Mary gives the children last-minute instructions. All the time, Michael is inching closer to the front door, wider.
Okay, now you guys stick with your sister. You can go act crazy after you bring her home, okay? And don't go past the 7-Eleven and don't eat anything that isn't wrapped and don't even think about
Don't eat any apples because they may have razor blades, and don't drink any punch because it may have LSD in it.
exactly.
Mary hushes Michael. Then Mary bends down to E.T. and kisses him on the nose as Elliot speaks.
Mom, will you fix this?
Mary rises to Elliot. She pulls the cape tight under his neck and ties it.
A hunchback?
A goblin.
Aww.
Exterior front of the house, dusk. Michael has reached the driveway. Elliot runs to join him, and they lead E.T. slowly down the drive. Harvey is with them.
And be home 1 hour after sundown, no later. Bye.
E.T. turns to look back at Mary, reverse. Mary, standing on the path, she waves her magic wand at the small ghost. Exterior streets, dusk. Establishing shot. The streets are filled with children dressed as cats and clowns, princesses and pirates. Exterior streets, dusk. Elliot, E.T., and Michael move among the throng of trick-or-treaters. Harvey is at their side. Exterior streets from E.T.'s POV. Through the ragged eye holes of E.T.'s sheet, we see his view of this strange night, his first view of earthly society. There are children of all sizes, dressed up in all types of outfits. Remaining with E.T.'s POV, we see a small Yoda approaching. Back to the boys. E.T. turns to watch the little gnome walk past him. The boys take E.T. with them out of the mainstream, heading uphill. Exterior fire road below lookout, dusk. Elliot, E.T., and Michael stand in the middle of the road, looking this way and that. Finally, Michael looks up. Reverse of Michael's POV. Gertie, sitting at the top of the lookout above the fire road. Elliot's bicycle is beside her.
The fire road, man. We said the fire road.
You said the lookout.
Get down here. We're losing precious time.
Exterior fire road, dusk later. Elliot is on his bicycle. E.T. is in the basket strapped to the handlebars. An oversized umbrella is lashed to the rear of the bike. Silently, Elliot steers his bike away from his brother and sister. As Elliot bounces along the dirt road and disappears around a bend, Michael takes Gertie's hand. The two stare out over the neighborhood, a full panorama of the children's familiar world. Exterior fire road, dusk. Elliot huffs and puffs his way up the dirt road. E.T. sits in the basket. Exterior forest, dusk. Elliot pulls off the fire road and guides his bike down a forest path. E.T. turns his head to find the source of every forest noise. Back to Elliot and E.T.
Elliot.
Yeah, E.T.
E.T. Phone home. E.T.
Yeah?
Phone home.
Yeah, here?
Exterior middle of the forest, night. Elliot steers the bicycle awkwardly through the heavy forest. E.T. is bouncing in his seat. His excitement is contagious.
Yes?
Yes, come.
Elliot starts to climb down from the bicycle.
It's too bumpy. We'll have to walk now.
From another angle, E.T. is too excited to wait through all this talking. With a focused concentration, E.T. lifts the bicycle into the air. Exterior sky, night. It's all Elliot can do to grab the handlebars and take the ride. The bicycle glides 5 feet over the tall grass and circles the landing site.
Not too high. Not too high.
E.T. feels Elliot's joy, and in the excitement of his own triumph, E.T. allows the ride to continue. The bicycle rises to the treetops. Elliot rides the bicycle, pedaling as hard as he can, steering through the treetops. He screams, laughing. Exterior the sky, night. With a gentle turn, Elliot skims the full harvest moon. Exterior forest, night. Elliot pops wheelies as he descends over the treetops. Exterior the landing site. The bicycle crashes on impact. Elliot, still laughing, sits up and pulls his cape off. E.T. is on his feet. He helps Elliot unload the communicator. Exterior of the landing site. Elliot and ET place the communicator on the ground. Close on the communicator. Having seen the original makings of the machine and one or two glimpses of it in progress, we can see how the whole is now able to justify the means. The speak and spell is attached by wires to the child's record player. The saw blade, painted blue and bearing small holes, sits where a record should be. The wooden hanger is positioned above the saw blade, and 26 colored wires protrude from the hanger's dowel stick, just touching the surface of the saw blade. A rope of colored wires leads from the walkie-talkie speakers, taped to the front of the speak and spell, to a coffee can, now housing a UHF receiver. The actual arm of the child's record player is now placed perpendicular to the record player itself. To this appendage, ET ties a string. Exterior landing site night. ET descends the rocky incline and moves towards the forest, unwinding the string as he goes. Exterior the edge of the forest. ET ties the string to a tree limb. The wind blows. The tree limb moves. The string pulls taut. Exterior the landing site. Elliot stands beside the communicator. He watches it come to life. The string pulls the record player arm, which pulls a spring, which pulls a hook, which rotates the saw blade's surface, purposefully catching in the pattern of holes. The screen of the speak and spell lights up, but instead of letters, we see dots and dashes, odd, unearthly shapes. Through the walkie-talkie speakers, we hear unearthly sounds. E.T. is now beside Elliot. He reaches into the boy's trick-or-treat bag and pulls out spools of colored wire. Exterior of the forest. Close on E.T.'s hands as they slide a wire into the vein of a leaf. E.T. digs a wire into the trunk of a massive redwood tree. He divides a wire between the thin branches of a pine tree. E.T. taps the power of the forest. Interior Elliot's house/front door, night. Mary is sitting on the bottom stair, twirling her star wand, obviously angry. Finally, she gets up, grabs her purse and keys, and leaves the house. Exterior Elliot's house, night. Mary backs her car down the driveway. Interior front door, night. We see a shadow climb the stairs. Interior second-story landing, night. A shadow slinks past the jack-o'-lantern on the landing. A door opens, and the wind blows the pumpkin's candle. Interior outside Elliot's bedroom door, night. Elliot's door is closed. Suddenly a light in his room goes on. We hear loud clicking and see an extension cord, plugged into an outlet outside Elliot's room, pulled taut under the door. Interior Elliot's room. The sound of keys. The sound of a Geiger counter. The closet door is pushed open. Interior closet. Elliot has a booby trap set up just inside the closet door, a large bell. And as the door is pushed open, the bell falls, ringing gently. Close on the bell, falling in slow motion. A large man's hand reaches out and grabs the bell before it hits the floor. We hear keys. Another angle into the nesting area. E.T.'s home. The sound of the Geiger counter grows louder. Exterior neighborhood, night. Mary's car rounds the corner. View of the street. The innocence of early evening has been replaced with the craziness of teenage Halloween. Boys and girls in bizarre punk outfits are roaming the streets. A house is being teepeed. Firecrackers are going off, and the street is filled with the rainbow effect of smoke bombs. It's not a violent sight, but one of wild abandon. Michael and Gertie stand in a pool of light cast from a street lamp. The D&D boys stand nearby watching the fun. Michael turns and sees his mother's car. Interior Mary's car at night. Mary peers through the windshield and sees Michael and Gertie. Just as she spots them, an egg hits her windshield and obstructs her view. She brakes. Exterior neighborhood street, night.
Uh-oh, now we're gonna die.
Exterior Mary's car, night. Mary rolls down her window and her angry face is slowly revealed to the children.
Get in the car now!
Sorry, Mary. They didn't know.
Michael, Gertie, get in the car this instant! Where's Elliot?
Interior Mary's car, night. Michael and Gertie climb in. They do not answer Mary's question.
Where is Elliot?
Silence.
I'm asking you a question. Damn it, Michael.
No, it was my fault, Mom. Anyway, why would Elliot go to the forest anyway? Why would he do such a thing?
Gertie, you blew it. Mary looks at Michael. Michael tries to smile at his mother. Exterior landing site, night. Through the tall grass, E.T. and Elliot approach the landing site, their hands full of wires. Exterior landing site. Close on the umbrella, now opened. We see that it's lined with aluminum foil. Attached to its handle is the coffee can holding a UHF receiver. E.T. knots the many wires and attaches them to the coffee can. Wider as E.T. steps back. The wind blows. If only we could see vibration lines, we would witness E.T.'s message beaming into space. Exterior landing site, night. E.T. sits next to his machine. He stares at the sky. Elliot whispers.
We have to go now. We're so late already.
E.T. stares up at the sky.
We have to go home, E.T.
E.T. drops his head to his chest.
You have to give them some time.
E.T. looks up at Elliot. The spaceman is crying. E.T. puts his hand to his chest and whispers.
Ow.
Elliot, he too is in tears.
You could be happy here. I'd take care of you. I wouldn't let anybody hurt you.
Wider as E.T. looks up at the sky, he refuses to budge. Elliot sits down beside him. Together they stare at the sky. Angle on the night sky. Exterior landing site night. The view lowers back down to the landing site, and we see that Elliot is asleep on the ground. E.T. is still awake, sitting up. Rises and walks to the communicator. He bends to the communicator and fiddles with it. Dissolve 2. Exterior landing site, dawn. Elliot is wrapped in his woolen cape, asleep. Raccoon is sniffing around the communicator. Elliot is shivering in his sleep. His goblin makeup is smeared and run, and he looks terrible. Elliot wakes up with a shudder. He looks around him. Pull back, E.T. is gone. Interior kitchen, dawn. Mary is pacing the kitchen. She stops to polish the faucet at the sink as she speaks to a uniformed man sitting at the kitchen table. Mary has obviously not slept all night.
I guess he's about 4'8". You know, he used to be a small person. He was dressed as a hunchback.
She starts to weep. Michael enters through the back door. Mary looks up. Michael shakes his head no.
Was there any indication that he might have run away?
Through the kitchen window, we see Elliot descend the backyard steps. He's wrapped in the cape, but the hunchback is gone. Back to the group.
Elliot.
Mary looks up. She beats Michael to the back door. Mary grabs Elliot up in her arms and hugs him. Close on Elliot. He's sick. The makeup is run and the red around his eyes gives him a haunted look. Wider as Michael cannot resist hugging Elliot himself.
Is this our missing person?
Yes, oh, thank you, he's back.
Elliot whispers to Michael.
Is he here?
Michael shakes his head, no. Elliot collapses. His head falls onto Mary's shoulder. His eyes flutter closed. Interior Elliot's room, day. Mary lays Elliot on his bed and covers him with a blanket. Michael is at her side.
Oh, God, he's so hot, Elliot.
I fell asleep in the forest.
Michael, stay here. I'll be right back.
Mary leaves the room. Michael leans closer to Elliot.
Where? What happened?
You gotta find him, Mike. In the forest near the bald spot.
Mary returns with a steaming wash rag and a towel. She gently begins to wipe Elliot's face. Michael runs out the door. Close on Elliot as he turns and looks at the closet. Close on the closet door, which is open. We can see the geranium sitting on the floor of the closet. It has yellowed dramatically, and its flowers have fallen off and lie dead on the floor. Exterior Elliot's house, day. Michael comes screaming down the driveway on Elliot's bicycle. Exterior street. A car pulls out of a driveway and follows Michael. We can see the forms of 3 men sitting in the car. Michael turns and sees them. Exterior streets. Michael is being followed. He knows it. He slows down. The car slows down behind him. Michael makes a right turn at a corner. The car turns right also. Michael has disappeared. Exterior alley. Michael is fast pedaling the bike, tearing down the alley. The car backs up and turns down the alley. Exterior between 2 houses. Michael guides his bike down the narrow passageway between 2 houses. The car pulls to a halt. There's no way it can follow. Exterior fire road. Michael huffs and puffs the bicycle up the dirt road. Exterior forest. Michael walks the bicycle down a dirt path. He heads towards the landing site. Exterior landing site. Michael looks down at the communicator. He lifts the white sheet that once covered ET. Exterior forest. Michael wanders through the forest. We hear the sound of running water. Exterior creek. Michael comes out of a heavily wooded area. He stops dead in his tracks. What he sees, lying in the creek, his head twisted at a grotesque angle, is E.T. Back to Michael. Michael stoops down and gently lifts E.T.'s head. The spaceman is breathing heavily. Michael lifts him and carries him into the forest. Exterior fire road. Michael stands under tree coverage as a helicopter flies over his head. When the helicopter is gone, Michael reaches into the trees and pulls out the bicycle. He hops on and rides down the road. E.T., wrapped from head to toe in the white ghost sheet, is in the basket. Interior Mary's room. Elliot is in Mary's bed. His eyes are wide open, staring. Mary comes in with a bowl of soup. She holds it out to Elliot, but Elliot shakes his head, no. Mary puts the soup down and lies down on the bed next to the boy. Elliot snuggles closer to her.
Can't you tell me what's the matter?
I feel like everything is worth nothing.
Mary hugs him to her.
Oh, baby, that's no way to feel.
I try to do the right thing and I just make everything worse.
Everyone feels like that sometimes, okay? You can only do the best you can do. Go to sleep now.
Elliot closes his eyes. Mary falls asleep. Elliot hears something. He turns his head to the door. Michael is standing in the doorway. He motions to Elliot to come join him. Elliot slides out of bed. Mary remains asleep. Interior closet day. E.T. is back in his resting area. He's wrapped in a quilt. His eyes wearily open and close as he watches a daddy longlegs climb up the wall beside him. Elliot and Michael sit on either side of him. Elliot holds E.T.'s hands.
It's all not working.
We can't tell.
Men followed me. Men aren't you listening? Why would anyone follow me unless they knew?
We can only do the best we can do, and we'll lose him if we tell.
E.T. looks at the boys.
We'll lose him if we don't tell. And Elliot, we'll lose you.
Elliot lifts E.T.'s long forefinger and touches it to the spaceman's heart.
Heal yourself, can't you?
E.T. shakes his head, no, again. Interior Mary's room day. On Mary, still asleep. We hear water running.
Mom?
Mary wakes up.
Where's Elliot?
Right around Michael.
Mom, I have something really serious to tell you.
Is he gone again?
Mary jumps out of bed.
But first, you gotta promise.
Michael, what is it?
Come with me.
Interior Mary's bathroom. The shower is running, but the curtain is closed. Mary follows Michael into the bathroom.
Mom, remember that goblin?
What are you talking about?
Just swear the most excellent promise you can make.
Michael.
Michael takes a deep breath and pulls back the shower curtain to reveal Elliot and E.T. are sitting on the floor of the shower stall. E.T. has his head resting on Elliot's shoulder. Elliot looks up at Mary.
We're sick. We're dying.
Back to Mary. Mary sinks down into the tub. Then she stands and turns off the shower water. She sinks again. She rises and in a very calm, orderly manner, pulls Elliot from the shower, grabs Gertie's hand, and shoves Michael out the door. Interior stairway day. Mary runs down the stairs, pushing the children in front of her. Elliot protests.
We can't leave him alone.
Interior front door. Mary flings the door open. She screams. Reverse. Wow, a man dressed in a huge, cumbersome, Apollo-type spacesuit is standing just outside the door. Back to Mary. She slams the door and runs for the living room. Interior kitchen. Mary and the children run through the kitchen and into the playroom. Just as they near the sliding glass door, a man in a spacesuit enters it. Mary heads for the window. View through the window. A man in a spacesuit is taping a sheet of heavy plastic over the glass. Back to the group. Mary sinks to the couch.
My house.
Michael steps in front of his mother and pushes the other children behind him. He instinctively becomes the man of the house, trying to guard his family from the intruders. Interior bathroom. Through the bathroom window, we see a heavy layer of plastic drop down over the house. Closer on E.T. Still in the shower, E.T. is cowering in the corner of the stall. He whispers, almost cries in a soft voice.
Eve, home.
Out. Fade in. Exterior Elliot's house, night. Establishing shot. We witness the results of an incredible metamorphosis. The entire house has been draped in a heavy, transparent vinyl. Huge air hoses climb up over the roof and circle the perimeter of the structure. Bright lights, braced on tall scaffolding, illuminate the home. The cul-de-sac has been cordoned off, and the driveway is blocked by trailers and trucks. The eerie picture is completed by the comings and goings of men in blue jumpsuits. We hear the sound of keys. Interior trailer, night. Keys, seen from the waist down, pulls on a spacesuit. Something about the suit, an arm patch, a colored helmet, will distinguish Keys from the others. As Keys pulls on the helmet, we see his entire body and then his face. It's not the face of a monster, but of a kindly-looking young man, not much more than a child himself. The sound of Keys is replaced with the sound of Keys' artificial liquid oxygen breathing. Exterior trailer, night. Keys exits the trailer and steps right into an oversized air hose. Interior air hose. Keys reaches a zipper door, the pneumatic seal, goes through it, and enters stage 1 of this quarantined house, the living room. Interior living room. Elliot's house has been invaded by the best and the brightest. Scientists and doctors galore. Medical doctors, psychiatrists, biologists, geologists, radiologists, cardiologists, even a parapsychologist. All have come to probe the mystery that has lived within this home. And it also appears they've come to attempt to save 2 lives, E.T.'s and Elliot's. Mary is sitting in a straight-back chair. Michael is across the room, sitting on the piano stool, and Gertie, clutching the Indian doll, has the couch all to herself. As Keyes moves through this room on his way to the playroom, we hear and see bits and pieces of what's going on.
Remind me to buy a more politically correct doll for my daughter and just let me go to my son.
A doctor takes a sample of Mary's blood.
Any environmental changes that have occurred since it has been sequestered in the home? Temperature, humidity, light, intensity.
A doctor takes Michael's blood pressure.
Did you notice any superficial changes in his skin color or breathing? Any hair loss? Any evidence of surface sweating?
He never had any hair.
Doctor snips a strand of Gertie's hair.
Apparently, they had been able to establish a primitive language system with the creature. 7, 8 unisyllabic words.
Have you seen your friend exhibit any emotions? Has he laughed or cried?
Elliot says he cried.
Elliot says he's cried.
Interior dining room night. Keyes moves through the dining room occupied by scientists, machines, monitors, and microscopes. Keyes steps through a zipper door leading to the hallway. Interior hallway. We hear Keyes breathing. We move down the hallway towards bright lights. Interior playroom. It might have been assumed that the visual shock of the house quarantine had reached its peak, but the look of the playroom is terrifying. The entire room is draped in plastic. Every conceivable spot is occupied by a machine, or a monitor, or a person wearing a clean room suit. Less bulky than the spacesuits, but equally awesome. The hum of machines and the buzz of conversation drowns out Key's heavy breathing. We can hear Michael's voice coming in over the intercom speakers.
He communicates through Elliot.
Elliot thinks his thoughts?
No. Elliot feels his feelings.
Keyes nears the center of the room. We see for the first time the nucleus of attention of this cluster, a portable clean room, 10 feet by 10 feet, plastic and transparent. The walls of the room flap against the floor as air pushes down from a ceiling filter and cleanses the small environment. Doctors encircle the room. 5 of them have their arms inserted into the room via rubber gloves. They're touching, testing, and examining the room's 2 occupants, Elliot and E.T. We hear the conversations of the doctors in this room.
I'm getting a reading now. Not a human EKG pattern.
What do you get?
I don't know.
Any QRX waves?
No,
Any waves at all?
I don't know.
Have you got a location on his heart and thorax?
I don't know.
Sonar?
Running the sonar over the thorax.
Location?
Per human.
Heart?
Difficult to see.
Does he have a heart?
The whole screen is lit up. It looks like his whole chest is a heart.
Is the heart enlarged? Diminished lung capacity?
Throughout this conversation, tests are being conducted on both E.T. and Elliot with stethoscopes, tongue depressors, an examination of bones and muscle, eye examinations.
Body looks like a Marfan's type.
Write down a comparative exophthalmia.
Foot relax reveals bilateral baby
I don't hear any breathing.
I had to recover from my Travis. Is he dyspic?
You guys will
Wait.
never get a job on Grey's Anatomy. I'm just going to say that
No.
right now.
No,
There's
never
their
make
jobs.
me
They
a
should be on
doctor
Grey's Anatomy.
again.
I might be the man in the room with Grey's Anatomy.
There is a breath, just one.
Have we got any type of trace elements?
We've established a radioactive threshold, but no evidence of superficial burning on family. No bone damage.
Christ, let me hit a vein.
The doctor punctures E.T.'s skin again and again, searching for a vein. E.T. turns his head and looks at Elliot. Elliot cries out in pain.
Doppler,
Ow.
have you picked up any blood flow?
I think we're seeing some blood in the inguinal area.
We're picking up some extracystosis.
How do you know?
Creatures reading and simultaneous boys reading.
Elliot looks up. Keys is standing next to him outside the plastic wall. Elliot grimaces in pain.
Got one. Blood. Get it out of here and get it into diagnostic.
We see E.T.'s blood in a syringe moving through the sterilizer. It's green. Elliot speaks to Keys.
Scared of you.
And you tell him not to be scared.
You're hurting him. You're killing us.
I want a buckle smear. Oh, what?
Don't we all? Hands reach in and take a sample from E.T.'s inside cheek. Elliot cries out. Elliot turns away from Keys.
He's my friend and you're killing him.
Keys motions to the doctors. The rubber bands stop their work. They leave E.T. alone for a moment.
I'm trying to help you, Elliot. He's sick. He needs attention.
E.T. turns his head and looks at Elliot. Elliot stares at E.T. as he speaks.
He wants to stay with me. He doesn't know you.
Elliot, a friend is a rare and valuable creature. We want to know him. If we get to know him, we can learn so many things about the universe, about life. You understand that, don't you?
It nods. He turns to face Keys.
And it's because of you that we might all get to finally know something about ourselves. Because you saved E.T. and protected him, and were good to him. Can you let us do our part now? Can you let us try to save him?
He wants to be with me.
He will be. He always will be. Wherever he goes, you'll go. I promise you that.
Swear.
Keys nods.
I'm losing blood pressure.
The doctors look at Keys.
Still failing.
Elliot looks at E.T.
E.T.?
E.T. rolls his head over and looks at Elliot. E.T.'s eyes are mere slits now. His mouth is open and his chest is heaving sporadically.
Elliot.
Gasp of amazement, laughs, sobs, then silence.
You can stay with me. I'll be right here.
Blood pressure falling.
What's wrong with him, Elliot?
He wants to go home.
I'm losing pulse.
Increase oxygen. IV on the boy.
Functioning.
Sodium bicarb. Pulse.
None on creature. Boy's starting to regain.
Give him a bolus of lidocaine.
Doctors look at E.T. and Elliot. Both appear to be unconscious now. Doctors look at Keys.
Call in the mother.
Interior Elliot's room, day. Michael enters Elliot's room. Even this room has been desecrated. A huge air tube has been shoved through the skylight. The dragon sheet is blowing in the stream of clean air coming in through the hose. Michael goes to the closet. Interior closet. E.T.'s closet. All of his things are there. There's still a crease where his body once sat. Michael sits in that spot. He tries his best to retain control, but hot tears spill down his cheeks. Michael notices the geranium. Close in the geranium. Before our eyes, the plant sinks on its stem. Its branches droop. Whatever flowers were left fall off. The plant dies. Close on Michael. Slow realization. He gets to his feet and lifts the plant. He screams.
No!
Interior playroom, day. Mary is just outside the plastic wall beside Elliot. As Michael's scream echoes, we hear Elliot scream out.
E.T., don't go!
This wave just went into VTAC.
VTech or artifact? How can you tell with no Q, R, and X?
He just went straight line duck.
There's a pause on the doctor's part. Michael breaks into the room. Gertie follows him. Elliot is on his knees, pulling on E.T.'s arm. E.T. is motionless. A doctor opens E.T.'s eyelid. The eye has rolled up white.
Prepare CPR. Doctor?
I don't know.
Do something.
E.T., please.
Should I zap him?
Zap him.
Doctor applies the electric device to E.T.'s chest.
Tell me,
I don't know.
what do you see?
I don't know. How can we tell? Straight line.
Zap him again?
Zap him.
They do. Still nothing. Elliot is sobbing and shaking. Mary can't wait any longer. She breaks into the clean room. The doctors try to stop her, but she pulls apart the plastic curtain and lunges for Elliot. She holds him in her arms. Keys is right behind her. He pulls off his gloves and begins pounding on E.T.'s chest with alarming strength. Michael is in the clean room now, still clutching the geranium. Damn it, Michael.
Damn it, Michael!
Damn it,
You have,
Michael.
you have to save him.
Tell me.
Straight line, damn it. Straight line.
Keys keeps pumping E.T.'s chest. There's no response.
I'm doing a cut down.
But before the surgeon can cut into E.T.'s throat, another doctor pulls him away. There's a somber silence, broken only by the buzz of machines and the sound of children weeping. The children in the theater. Someone turns the machines off. Now all we hear are tears. Mary rocks Elliot in her arms. Keys pulls off his helmet.
There's still a present danger. We must re-enclose the quarantine.
No one is listening to him. No one listens to the scientists. One doctor pulls off his mask and kicks the wall. Gertie climbs up beside Mary. Mary gently brushes the hair off of her face.
Featherton. Is he dead, Mama?
Yes, honey.
Can we wish for him to come back?
I wish.
I wish too.
Keys bends over E.T. and whispers.
How do we reach your people?
Keys, you idiot. Close on E.T. He's dead. Exterior house, day. Long shot. There's a sudden flurry of activity around the house. Men in blue jumpsuits are breaking apart the air tubes and dismantling the tall scaffolding. Exterior cul-de-sac, day. The D&D boys, Tyler, Steve, and Greg, are behind the sawhorses which cordon off the circular end of the street. There's quite a crowd of people behind them, neighbors, newsmen, the curious. The boys are straddling bicycles.
Something's happening.
The boys speak softly so as to only be heard by one another.
Oh, they're gonna die.
Shut up, Greg.
Something is definitely happening now.
Interior clean room. E.T. lies in state, packed in a zip-up bag covered with dry ice. The ice is steaming and the steam clouds the plastic walls of the clean room. Interior playroom. The doctors are consulting. There's a general air of confusion. Elliot stands just outside the clean room, staring at the remains of E.T. Interior clean room. A man carrying a lead box, a small coffin, walks past Elliot. A second man helps the first lift E.T. into the box. Interior playroom. Keys steps behind Elliot and puts his hand on the boy's shoulder.
Would you like to look at him once?
It looks up at Keys.
I feel like he's still here.
What was E.T. isn't you now, Elliot.
I want to see him.
Keys waves his hand and stops the men inside the clean room from zipping up the bag holding E.T. The men leave the room. Interior clean room, day. Keys gives Elliot a gentle shove and the boy goes into the room. The men exit. Keys drops the plastic flap and Elliot is alone in the transparent room. Reverse. Through the plastic we see Mary. She steps next to Keys and watches Elliot. Back to Elliot. Elliot steps up to the gurney and looks down at the body of E.T. Elliot gently brushes the dry ice away from E.T.'s face, and slowly the familiar face of E.T. is revealed. Close on E.T., silent and motionless. Back to Elliot. A tear from Elliot drops onto E.T.'s face.
I thought I'd get to keep you forever, and I had a million things to show you, E.T. You were like a wish come true, but it wasn't even a wish I knew I had. Till you came to me. Have you gone someplace else now?
We've begun to notice as Elliot speaks to E.T. that the steam rising from the dry ice has become pinkish, tinted with color.
I'm gonna think of you every day all my life. I'm gonna believe in you. all my life.
Elliot notices it now. He scrapes away a little more dry ice, and E.T.'s chest is revealed. The heart light is on, growing stronger. Elliot looks towards the door. Reverse on Keys and Mary, who are talking. Back to Elliot. Elliot looks through the plastic walls, blurs of men in motion. Elliot looks at E.T.'s face. Slowly, E.T. opens his eyes. He sees only Elliot. Elliot bursts into tears. He bites his lip to keep from laughing. Elliot presses his hands over E.T.'s chest to keep the light from shining through. Elliot looks at Elliot and mumbles.
T. Phone home.
Oh, okay.
Come home.
Elliot takes off his flannel shirt. He's now stripped to his long john underwear. Reverse on Keys and Mary. They watch Elliot remove his shirt. Back to Elliot. He lays his shirt across E.T.'s chest, blocking out the glow from E.T.'s heart light. Reverse. Mary winces and smiles at this lovely childish gesture. She looks over at Keys. Keys nods. Back to Elliot.
E.T., stay.
E.T. phone home.
I'm taking you home, E.T. Yes, E.T., home. But first, stay. Yes? Stay, please. Stay, E.T. I love you.
Elliot covers E.T.'s face
I
with ice.
know.
Wrong universe. Or maybe the same universe. Elliot himself zips up the plastic bag. Elliot runs from the clean room. Interior playroom. Elliot holds his face in his hands as he runs past Mary and Keys. The adults leave the boy alone in his misery. Interior kitchen. Michael is leaning against the refrigerator, sad and alone. Elliot goes to his brother and throws his arms around him. Michael returns the embrace, and the two are locked in what looks like a private moment of grief. But we see that Elliot is whispering in Michael's ear. By his posture, the movement of his arms, the tightness of his grasp, we can read from Michael's body that he has just heard that E.T. lives. The brothers' embrace turns from grief to joy. Michael whispers into Elliot's ear. Elliot nods. Pull back. We can see the neglected geranium sitting on a table cluttered with surgical tools, face masks, and microscopes. The geranium straightens. Fresh green leaves shoot out of its dead stems. Buds appear. It comes back to life. Interior living room. Elliot stands at the entrance to the air tube leading from the house to the van. His hands are in his pockets. His head is bowed. Two men pass him carrying the lead box containing E.T. They place the box on the floor and enter the air tube. Elliot looks down the tube. Interior tube. The two men open the zipper door which leads to the interior of the rear of the van. Interior living room. Elliot looks down at his feet again when the men re-enter the house. Mary enters the living room with Keys. She kisses Elliot on the top of
I'm just having an emotional moment here. Are you ready?
I'm going with E.T.
You and your family will come with me, Elliot. We're all going to the same place.
I'm going with E.T.
You shouldn't.
Where he goes, I go. You promised. I'm going with him now.
Okay.
Elliot enters the air tube. The two men in blue jumpsuits lift the box containing E.T. and enter the tube with it. Exterior house, day. A man in a blue jumpsuit walks around the side of the van, still attached to the house by the air tube, and starts to open the door. As he does so, he realizes that someone is already sitting in the driver's seat. That someone is Michael, dressed in a blue jumpsuit, a skull cap, and face mask.
Who are you?
I'm driving.
Michael slams and locks the door. Interior van. Michael knocks 3 times on the window behind his head. Elliot peeks through it.
Ready?
Ready. Elliot, I've never driven Ford before.
Interior living room, day. Mary is standing at the bottom of the stairs yelling.
Michael?
Gertie comes downstairs.
Are they gone, Mama?
Is who gone?
The boys.
Boys?
I'm supposed to give you this when they've gone.
Give it to me now, Gertie.
Gertie hands Mary a sheet of binder paper. Mary sits down on the staircase and reads it.
Oh my God.
Mary looks up at the air tube. 2 men enter it and move towards the van. We hear a horrible ripping noise. Exterior house, day. The van pulls away from the front of the house. As it zigzags down the driveway, it rips the air tube away from the front door. The pneumatic seal is broken. Before our eyes, the plastic curtain draping the house collapses. The van skids to the bottom of the driveway, pulling 20 feet of air hose behind it like the flailing tail of a dragon. Exterior top of the cul-de-sac day. Michael leans on the horn. Policemen scurry to move the sawhorses. The crowd parts to let the van through. The D&D boys are still in the crowd. The van slows down long enough for the barriers to be removed, long enough for the D&D boys to look into the front seat. Michael sees them. He pulls off his face mask.
Mike!
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 Michael shushes them.
Shh. Get the bikes. Meet us at the lookout.
But wait!
What?
Michael steps on the gas. The van zigzags down the hill, pulling its tail behind it. Exterior house. Men are trying to crawl out from under the collapsed plastic sheeting. Unseen in the confusion are the D&D boys. They open the garage door. Exterior garage. While two boys grab Michael and Elliot's bicycles, we notice that Harvey runs out of the garage. Exterior house/driveway. The D&D boys ride their bicycles down the driveway as they hold onto the handlebars of Michael's and Elliot's bicycles and lead them down to the street. Harvey follows. Interior playroom. Mary runs through the kitchen, pulls open a drawer, grabs a butcher knife, and heads for the sliding glass door. Gertie hangs onto her mother's shirt tail. Mary slashes her way through the plastic. Gertie sees the geranium. She grabs it and follows her mother through the gaping hole in the plastic curtain. Interior van. As the van careens down the street, Elliot notices that there are men in the air tube. Interior air tube. Two men are dragging themselves up the tube as it bounces along the street, moving towards the van. Interior van. Elliot begins unlatching the tube. One by one, he pulls the many handles that clasp the tube to the van. Reverse. The men are still coming, slowly but surely, closer to the van. Back to Elliot. He pulls on one of the latches. The van makes a jolting move. Elliot falls. He pulls himself to his feet.
Be careful.
Interior front seat of van. Michael regains control of the wheel.
Oh, we're gonna die and they're never gonna give me my license.
Interior back of van. Elliot works on the latches. The men are moving closer. Exterior house. Mary jumps into her car. Gertie climbs in the back seat. Keith comes running from the house and jumps into the passenger seat as the car is already moving. Interior Mary's car. Gertie stands on the back seat and sticks her head between them. Keys looks at Mary.
Where are they going?
To the spaceship.
Keys looks at Gertie.
We get to see a spaceship from the moon.
Mary.
Step on it.
Exterior cul-de-sac. Government cars are trying to turn around. Mary whizzes by them. Government cars follow Mary. Interior back of van. Elliot pries the last latch open just as the men are about to reach the van. The tube is free. It falls to the ground. Interior tube. The two men grab the sides of the tube as it rolls to a stop. Exterior street. The van rounds a corner. Dry ice spills from the back of the van. Exterior streets. A string of cars led by Mary are chasing the van. The van has a good lead. Interior van. Michael whips the van around a corner, cuts across a lawn, and steers the vehicle up a hill.
Where's the lookout?
Near the 7-Eleven.
Where's that?
I don't know streets. Mom always drives. Me.
Exterior street. The van comes around a bend headed for the lookout. Exterior alley. There are the D&D boys standing in formation, straddling their bikes. Michael's and Elliot's bicycles are ready to be mounted. Harvey stands in front of the boys, panting. The van screeches to a halt. Michael jumps out and runs to the rear of the van. The D&D boys come to meet him. Elliot and E.T. stand in the rear of the van. E.T.'s heart light is really flashing now. The D&D boys freeze when they see who's standing next to Elliot. Elliot smiles at the boys.
He's a man from outer space, and we're taking him to a spaceship.
Can he just beam up?
This is reality, Greg.
Yeah, Greg. Exterior street. The official unmarked cars have passed Mary. They zero in on the van. Exterior alley. The unmarked cars skid to a stop. The officers leap from their cars and draw their guns. Mary pulls up right behind them. As she jumps from the car screaming, Harvey jumps into the back seat next to Gertie.
No guns, they're children.
Mary runs to the van. Interior rear van. It's empty. Reverse. Mary clutches her heart. Exterior streets. Michael, Steve, Tyler, and Greg are speeding along on their bicycles. They flank Elliot's bike. E.T. sits in the front basket. This is bicycle riding that only fearless young boys would attempt. They jump curbs, they lean into corners, they conquer every obstacle. Exterior streets. Suddenly, two government cars block the boys' path. The bikes burn rubber as they screech to a halt. The boys turn and head in the opposite direction. Two more government cars pull into view. Another route is blocked. Elliot makes a swift turn and leads the boys through someone's backyard. Exterior alley. The yard empties into an alley. The boys again move into formation to guard Elliot and his passenger. Government cars block their exit. The boys turn around. They head back down the alley. Exterior street. The alley empties into a street. The boys spread out. They stand on their bikes, pedaling as if their lives depended on it. Two marked cars pull out of nowhere and block their path. It appears as if the boys will crash right into the cars, but they don't. Instead, they rise above the cars. E.T. has regained his strength. The 5 bicycles, still in formation, lift into the air. They fly over the cars, over the streets, over the houses. Exterior of the sky, dusk. Each boy has his own separate moment of magic. Only Elliot is composed. He takes the lead, banks his bicycle to the right, and screams.
Head for the forest.
The boys follow him like a flock of birds.
Is this real? Is this really real?
Tell me when it's over.
Exterior, sky above forest, dusk. The bicycles skim the treetops. Exterior, fire road. Mary pulls her car to a stop. Exterior, forest. Mary, Keys, Gertie, and Harvey run through the forest.
Elliot, don't go!
Exterior, tall grass, dusk. The bicycles land in the tall grass. The other boys stop there. But Elliot makes an incredible jump up onto the landing site. Exterior landing site. Elliot's bicycle spills its occupants onto the soft dirt. Elliot reaches out to the communicator. His hand is instantly caught in a beam of lavender light. Exterior, tall grass. Mary, Gertie, Keys, and Harvey have reached the tall grass. Gertie, carrying the geranium, runs through the grass and struggles up the rocky incline. Exterior landing site. E.T. steps into the beam of lavender light. He looks up and whispers.
Yes, ready.
Elliot rises and stands behind E.T. Angle on the sky. The spaceship appears. Exterior, tall grass. The D&D boys, Mary, Keys, and Harvey approach the landing site. Keys holds himself and the others back. Angle on the spaceship. The spaceship descends. Exterior, the tall grass. The area is illuminated with a brilliant pastel light. Exterior landing site. Gertie has reached the top of the rocky incline. Behind her, we see Michael climbing up to the landing site. Gertie falls as she reaches the top and leaves the geranium on the ground. E.T. helps Gertie get to her feet. Gertie smiles at him.
I wanted to say goodbye.
Michael has reached the top. He puts an arm on Gertie's shoulder.
He doesn't know goodbye.
E.T. pats Gertie gently.
Be good.
E.T. looks up at Michael. Michael takes his hand.
Thank you.
E.T. turns to Elliot.
Come.
Elliot looks up at the beautiful, hovering spaceship. He turns from it to look at his brother and sister, his mother, Keys, and the boys. Elliot looks back at E.T.
Hey.
The two friends stare at one another for a moment. Together, they reach their arms out and embrace. Reluctantly, they pull apart. E.T. touches his chest, where the heart light has become a beautiful ruby glow, illuminating his and Elliot's faces.
Ouch.
Elliot takes E.T.'s forefinger, presses it to his own chest, and repeats.
Ouch.
E.T. moves his hand to Elliot's head, touches his finger lightly to the boy's forehead, and speaks with perfect pronunciation.
I'll be right here.
The door of the spaceship opens. The gangplank descends. E.T. starts for the door. He notices the geranium on the ground. He lifts it and walks up the gangplank. Exterior spaceship, dusk. Just inside the doorway is a fellow creature. His heart light burns red. E.T. turns and takes a last look, then disappears into the ship. The gangplank lifts. The door closes. Elliot watches, smiling. Exterior sky, dusk into night. The spaceship lifts into the air. It moves quickly into the darkening sky. It becomes smaller and smaller until it's only a speck of white light, the first star of the evening. Fade out. Fade in. To the sounds of children's voices and the staccato beat of rock and roll. Interior Elliot's room, night. Dominoes are spread across the floor and tiny painted pewter figures are in formation, marching through the domino maze.
Okay, you've reached the dungeon. It's dark and dismal.
Finally, we get to the dungeon.
There's a hallway in front of you.
We go down it.
There's a door.
We open it.
There's nothing there.
Come on, Steve, man. This is getting boring. Bring out some purple worms, or let's have some orcs. The living dead, anything.
Nothing but a 50-foot green hairy monster.
Yeah!
Yeah.
The view rises above the boys. The Polaroid of Elliot, Michael, and E.T., dressed for Halloween, is pinned to the wall. E.T.'s clay planets are hung by wires above Elliot's bed. The view moves out through the skylight, through the breath of the dragon.
Let me try to talk to him.
Oh, please spare us.
The view moves up from the roof. We see E.T.'s communicator on the roof, still working, still sending its message into space.
Hey man, I talk goblin.
The sound of laughter, the view moves further away, past the house, the neighborhood, the town, the state, the continent, the globe, the moon, the solar system, into the stars. The view continues, deep into space. The end.
Yay.
I love this movie so much.
How is that even without the freaking
love
soundtrack? I
this
cried.
movie.
I like was bawling the whole yeah.
I literally was like, "Ooh, keep it together, Jen."
This movie's
Thank
fantastic.
you
If
for
you were
Okay,
watching,
yeah, okay. So just
watching.
thank you
keep
everybody.
doing that, and it's
Especially
fine.
ET.
We'll be right here.
Creepy.
Like,
Special effects, ladies and
comment,
gentlemen.
subscribe.
Thank you for watching this edition of Quarantine Theater Company. Have a good night.